And good morning, everyone. Right at 9 a.m. here on this Monday morning. Rusty with you here, Central Florida Weather Live. We are tracking some severe weather across portions of Central Florida, including an active tornado warning. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We talked about this on Friday's show, that we were more than likely going to have some active weather early this morning. It's gotten a little bit stronger, a little bit more energy here, so we need to get right into the story. Going to bring up the timeline, and of course, the one issue with this timeline is that I'm going to take this off because we have some issues sometimes with our springing forward, our daylight saving time. But anyway, let's get into what's happening right now. All right. So we do have a tornado warning that is currently in effect, and this is going to be for portions of Lake and Orange counties in Central Florida. I'm going to read off the warning. This one was just issued. Now, there was an earlier one as well. The first thing I want to be very clear about is that this is not radar indicated. Okay, and this is not a confirmed tornado. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that is capable of producing a tornado. So there is some rotation inherent within this storm, but it does go for the next half hour until 9:30. So this includes southwestern Lake and northwestern Orange counties. Just a couple of minutes ago, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Claremont there, which is one of the bigger populated areas of Lake County, moving to the northeast at 35 miles an hour. So Claremont, Lake Apopka, Ferndale areas, and then Apopka, Zellwood around 9:10. Those are going to be the areas with the biggest concern. That is the pink polygon that you see right now. The others are going to be just areas that my computer is kind of keeping an eye on right now as far as the opportunity for some active weather. So again, using the radar algorithms in the system to allow me to kind of take a very quick look at things going on right now. But again, this is a tornado warning for portions of Lake and Orange counties. It expires, as you can see, in 27 minutes. Also could see some hail less than an inch in size as well. So obviously things have ramped up here a little bit in intensity, and it's something we're gonna have to be monitoring. Good to see you guys early on this Monday morning. If you are seeing any active weather in your area, let me know in the comments section below as well. So let me bring up here, I'm just gonna switch a couple of things behind the scenes. Just looking at what we call storm cell tracking mode right now. Now let's track this from the area of greatest concern, okay? And again, and I apologize here, I don't know if I can adjust this on the fly. This is gonna be an hour behind because of our daylight saving time issue here. This is something we've been working on, is that when the clocks switch, unfortunately this system sometimes doesn't pick up on it. But anyway, you can clearly see, and I'll put it, it's 9:30 for Mount Plymouth, 9:52 for Sanford, 9:53 in DeBary. And again, that's something I'm going to try and switch on the fly here. But anyway, we have a tornado warning in effect right now for those areas. While we're doing that, one of the things to also mention as well is let's bring up our cameras and take a look at those. So this is going to be a live look to Winter Garden. This is an area, actually, friends, that is looking very close or closest to that tornado warning. It's obviously a gray sky out there right now. You can see how this camera is looking off towards the west. So you can clearly see that the clouds are moving from the left to the right-hand side of your screen. That, of course, is going to be south winds, really, really strong south winds right now that are going to be whipping across the system. And that's going to be a situation that we're going to have to just continue to monitor. Those south winds have really amped up the severe weather potential for today, and it's going to be something to have to monitor. Now, this is not going to be forever. This is not going to last the entire day, but for the remainder of the morning hours, this is going to be an issue that we're going to have to watch. Good morning, Blue Goose. Good morning, Garrett. I hope you guys are doing well as well here. So again, tornado warning in effect for portions of Lake and Orange counties. You guys can clearly see again the situation on your screen. Dark, overcast skies. And that's the other problem too. It's going to be really hard to see any rotation out of these storms. A lot of moisture in play right now. This is from Lake Conway, so this is looking a little bit farther off towards the east, where again, we don't have as much of a problem. Now, this is looking east from basically downtown Orlando. So this camera is kind of looking away from the area of concern. But again, more than likely going to see some severe weather roll across that area. And it's a gloomy day right now in the Disney area. That's a live look to our camera near Lake Buena Vista. And again, that's looking south and west, so there is going to be a little bit in the way of that. But all of that activity, the area of greatest concern right now is going to be a little bit farther north from that camera. So that's good news as far as those areas for now. But obviously things can change. Let's go back over to our Winter Garden camera. Again, Winter Garden, if you don't know, friends, is in the western side of Orange County. This camera is looking off to the west. So we are looking towards that area of concern. Now, that tornado warning is still, 10, 12 miles away from this camera, and it's going to move north of that camera, but you get the idea of what's ahead of it at this point in time. Blue Goose says, doing well. Jacksonville traffic has already snarled. That's the other issue. I mean, obviously, I think the time change is not only getting my system, but it's getting the everyone trying to wake up and get going early on this Monday morning. Probably causing a few more headaches here than what we would hope. There's no doubt about it. So let me go back over to the big perspective here. Again, tornado warning is in effect for the next 22 minutes in this area. Now, this is going to be, Lake County. You're going to cross Lake Apopka here, right? So this is Lake Apopka, where it's really going cats and dogs. And then on the other side of it, you're going to get Apopka, South Apopka, Zellwood, maybe towards Mount Dora. The interesting thing about this, friends, is that this truly is, at this point in time, the only severe weather that we have in our area. You get a little bit farther north towards St. Augustine, you do have some special weather statements. This line is just extremely healthy. If we take a look at the base velocity, so this is going to be the spin in the atmosphere. Again, what I'm looking for in this product is reds close to greens, and you can clearly see that right here, that there is certainly some inherent rotation within this storm. By the way, before we get too deep into this, Central Florida Weather Live is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They do cover the entire state. Anything that could impact you or your property, they're going to walk you through the insurance claim process. You see that their website is on the bottom of your screen. We appreciate the Lean Law Firm being the sponsor of Central Florida Weather Live. If you need more information, would like more information, please go to the website below. Again, we appreciate them being sponsors of CFLW. If you're just tuning in past the 9 o'clock hour here on CFLW, we do have a tornado warning. It's one right now. It's kind of out by itself, but again, it's an opportunity to watch out for that storm. This is the main game in town right now. Let me bring up a couple of these cells. And again, looking for the potential rotation within some of this activity right now. I don't see a marker that is showing any big rotation. That is great news, right? So when I'm looking at this kind of behind the scenes, I'm looking at the different cell types. And at this point in time, we're looking okay. Again, all of these are just going to be general storms. Now, there is rotation. We already mentioned that. And the other thing about this storm is that it's moving fast, right? And you're never going to truly see that rotation. This is why the Weather Service issues these kinds of warnings, right? Because a spin up could happen very quickly. And it's also going over a fairly large body of water as we speak. The actual true center is going over Lake Apopka. And when you get that friction difference, as it moves off of land, goes over a larger lake, even inland, right? You're going to have the opportunity here to maybe get a little bit more in the way of some spin. So that's the other thing that we're going to have to watch out for as well. I'm going to switch this just over to a little bit of a different background. I think it's going to give us a little bit more contrast. But this line extends back into portions of the eastern sides of Hernando and Pasco counties. It actually even trails back into Tampa area as well. Again, this is the radar out of Melbourne, gives us the clearest shot, but there's a little bit more to this actual kind of area. If we go to the Tampa radar real quick, you'll see that this kind of bends back down, and then there's another area to watch out for as it tries and move northeast into Bradenton and Sarasota counties. Fiona Altamont Springs is currently not under the tornado warning, but it's close, right? If this tornado warning were to be extended, it's an opportunity that portions of the I-4 corridor and northern Orange and southern sides of Seminole County would be included in this. And again, just to be clear, this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, right? There's kind of three different classifications here, guys, that the Weather Service will issue a tornado warning for. The first one is going to be that there is a tornado on the ground, right? It has been, ground truth reported. It's been seen by spotters. It's been seen by the public. So that's one. Second one is going to be that there is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, or the other one is going to be that there's just rotation within a storm. All right. This one is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So, they're not seeing a ton of rotation. There's a bit, but what they're saying is that at any point in time, this could spin up a tornado. All right. Now you notice that the polygon kind of goes all the way up here, and then my cell has it tracking a little bit farther on the southern side of that. But the bottom line is, if you live across 441, especially the Apopka area, Zellwood, Wekiva Springs, Lockhart, Forest City, these are areas that you guys need to be paying very close attention to as well. All right. If I go back over to the velocity product here, again, this is out of Tampa. So we're seeing it in a little bit different perspective. You can still clearly see you've got different colors near each other, and the darker those reds, the stronger the velocity is there. If I switch back over to the Melbourne radar site here, so let me do that. It's going to go back over to the broad perspective here and go back over to Melbourne and zoom in, and then go back over to our velocity. You can clearly see again that right over the lake we have this broad rotation. You've got the reds close to the greens. This means that winds are going in different directions. It's as simple as that, right? The radar is picking up two different wind directions in a very close proximity, indicating that there is some rotation. All right. And again, and I apologize for these times not being in daylight saving, but we'll get through it. This obviously on the bottom of your screen is correct, but I'm going to walk you through it. So it's going to be 9:30 Mount Plymouth, 9:50 DeBary, 9:55 Deltona, and then so here's the really interesting thing. Did you guys see that polygon shift? Did I mention that my computer had it a little bit farther south? That's exactly what the Weather Service just did. They absolutely just shifted this potential tornado warning, or the tornado warning with a potential rotation and tornado, a little bit farther to the south. So that is a brand new update. So they're going to cancel. Are they going to cancel it? Okay. The tornadic thunderstorm which produced the warning has moved out of this warning area. Therefore, the warning has been canceled. All right. So why do we have... The question is, did they cancel the whole thing, or did they cancel just part of it? Still feel like they just canceled part of it. I mean, that's still some very good rotation right here. And I'm going to keep checking in with the NWS as well. Let me bring them up on my computer. Yeah, okay. That's all they did. I just wanted to make sure. That was just, they dropped the northern part of that tornado warning, and they still have a tornado warning, and it was just at 9:13. So right now, that is still going to be for the Apopka, Ocoee, Zellwood areas. All right. And again, the bottom line is that it's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So this should be now the newest update, right? All right. So here you go. You guys can read it with me together. It's the same situation, guys. It's just that they dropped off the northern side of this. So just like my computer was saying, it's the southern part of that that's going to be the most potential. And I got to tell you something, that as you would expect, as it goes over Lake Apopka, the rotation has gotten a little bit stronger right now. We have a little bit stronger winds. It's nothing outrageous, but you have a little bit more incoming in these brighter greens. So what you have is, we mentioned the south winds. You've got, and these are winds going into this rotation. So now you have some pretty strong winds racing from Apopka and moving in. And then we just picked up a new track. So let's look at that. And again, let me take this off screen. And again, we're going to work through this together. These times are going to be an hour behind because of DST, which again, I will work very hard to get that corrected. But you've got 923 south of Apopka, 924 Apopka, 932 Wekiva Springs, 945 Lake Mary, 952 Sanford, 959 Deltona, right? And again, my system, we can zoom in and just take a look. Now, again, I would not, please remember obviously the time, but the countdown is absolutely correct. So that's the thing to look at. So for South Apopka, we have about 6.5 minutes until the area of concern moves into your area. For Apopka, we have just over 7 minutes. You have enough time, right? You know, let's take this seriously. This is a tornado warning. You have enough time to make sure you get to the bottom level of your home, right? To put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. You're going to want to stay away from west-facing windows, right? Not only for the wind potential, but if there's some hail, strong enough winds are going to blow out those west-facing windows first. And just stay safe. You know, if you know those areas in your home that have as many walls between you and the outside as possible, then you're good. Obviously, we don't have basements here in Florida, so we're not going underground, right? But just make sure if you have a 2-story home, you're on your first floor. Also, again, make sure that the cars are inside if you possibly can. But if we follow this out, Wekiva Springs in about 15 minutes, Lake Mary in about 27. Now, for Fiona in Altamont Springs, it does look like the area of biggest concern is going to be tracking just north of you. But this area in I-4, including Sanford, could be impacted here in about the next half hour. Yep. I-4 drivers absolutely have to be aware. Now look, we're past 9 o'clock, so we're hoping that obviously we've got most commuters in, right? But that's not necessarily going to be the case for everyone. So again, tornado warning is going to go until 9:30, and the area of concern is now beginning to move on shore, if you will, near Apopka, South Apopka. That's a pretty populated area, by the way, too, if you guys don't know the Apopka area. And again, this cell, capable of producing a tornado, is moving in that direction. Let's loop this up, just kind of give you guys an idea of what this looks like. This is from the Melbourne radar just over the last half hour, right? You can just see that there is this one string of storms with a little bit more juice from Dade City up towards Claremont, where we had the initial tornado warning, now across Lake Apopka and into the northwest sides of Orange County, all right? And you can see that that line is basically moving east as the individual cells move north and east, right? There's still some pretty nasty weather to watch out for down in Bradenton and Sarasota counties. We still have some pretty good weather right along the immediate coast. Looks like we do have a new special weather statement for Flagler County. We're obviously going to get some marine warnings as well. You know, it's just a kind of a stormy, tumbly after morning that will finally behave into the afternoon hours. So thankfully, we're not going to have to deal with this forever. So let's get back into what's happening right now. We'll bring back up the Melbourne radar. If you're just tuning in, and I appreciate you guys doing so, appreciate you guys liking this live stream, appreciate you guys subscribing to CFLW. That's the look. We've got our live cameras. I think it's a good idea to check in with those. We'll start off with the Winter Garden camera. Once again, this camera is closest to the tornado warning. Now, the tornado warning is going to be north and west of this camera, but friends, if you look as this camera faces west, do you see those palm trees at the bottom of your screen just bent over? Do you see how fast those clouds are moving from left to right? That's that howling south wind. This camera is close enough to that cell where we're picking up from this camera those winds that are being ripped into where that area of rotation is. That's exactly what you're seeing. If you guys live in western Orange County, if you guys live in eastern Lake County, you know, maybe even back down into portions of Osceola and Polk counties. I mean, anywhere south of that cell and anywhere south and east of this area, we're going to have some pretty darn strong south winds that are just, you know, going to be pulling in all of this low-level moisture. And you can just see that the winds just above the surface are racing. A lot of fuel right now in the low levels of the atmosphere, which is why we have this bit of a spin-up. To Lake Conway, again, this is near downtown Orlando. We're looking east, so now on this camera, you're going to see those clouds move away from you, right? They're ripping away from you because this camera is looking off towards the east. So you actually see a little bit of murky sunshine on the horizon because we're looking towards the east coast from this camera. But all that active thick cloud coverage is going to be rolling its way in. And obviously it's not going to be fun for the attractions at this point in time. There's no severe weather near Lake Buena Vista, and that's where this camera is from. But look at the winds again. Look at the palm trees. They're doing a dance outside right now because the worst weather is still to come for most of Orange County and the Lake Buena Vista area. And that really includes, friends, basically all of I-4, and the I-Drive corridor, of course, as well. But all of I-4 is going to be more impacted here coming up as these storms begin to work their way into the area. All right? So back out right now. And as I was talking, it does look like they've allowed this tornado warning to expire. And they have. All right? So that's good news. So what the Weather Service in Melbourne was watching out for, right, was, is this rotation going to hold together once it goes through Lake Apopka? If we look at the velocities here, there is still some spin, right? But, you know, I never mentioned that there was anything extremely tight. It strengthened up a little bit right on the eastern shoreline of Lake Apopka, but never got too tight. Never got what we call a true couplet, right? Which is when you have some really strong winds going in different directions right next to each other. But there's going to be a lot of wind energy here, and anywhere south of there, right? This is where our camera is, right about here in the Winter Garden area, looking this way. But anywhere that was that wind was being pulled into that cell. So that was the biggest game in town. So it's good to see that that tornado warning was allowed to be expired early or canceled early. Once again, this was a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, right? Nothing was ever confirmed. That's good news. Now, the special weather statement is in effect for portions of Flagler County. So let's take a look at that one, right? This is going to be through 9:45. At 9:10, we had a strong thunderstorm near Palm Coast, 8 miles south of Bunnell, moving northeast at 45. Again, the biggest impacts are going to be winds, no doubt about it. You just saw the cameras live, what was happening there. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at our current wind gusts. I'm going to bring those up for you guys live as well. So we'll start off with temperatures, which are in the lower 70s, pretty juicy. And there's some of those winds that we have right now. So as the storms move through Leesburg, they had a 43 mile an hour wind. But let me be clear about a couple of things, right? Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, Brevard County, Sanford, Orlando, the I-4 corridor, all the way back to Tampa and St. Pete. For most of you, the worst of the weather is still to come, right? Doesn't mean it's going to get too squirrely outside. I'm bringing back on the composite radar here from all of our different NEXRAD sites. But you can see that this line does extend back to the Tampa-St. Pete area right now over Tampa Bay. Another stronger storms over the Sarasota area towards Brandon and Venice. They're going to be moving on shore as well. Anywhere north of that line, generally speaking, although we'll still have a few storms, the juice is a little bit lower right now. The atmosphere has been a little bit more raked. But for a good amount of our area, we are going to have the most impactful weather still coming up here over the next hour or two. So we'll see how this plays out. But obviously very heavy rain, gusty winds, and a fair amount of lightning as well. Pretty good lightning strikes right now over DeLand, Orange City to Barrie. Again, this is the area that had that tornado warning. Still keeping an eye on a couple of different cells right now. There's one, again, moving northeast at 60. So let's go back over to the Melbourne radar. And again, you guys have specific questions about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have a quick second for me, thank you for liking this live stream. Thank you for subscribing to CFLW. Of course, CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. You see their logo on the bottom of your screen, and we're happy to have them aboard as the exclusive sponsor of CFLW for the first half of 2025. All right, so this cell still bears some monitoring. Despite the fact that there's not a ton of rotation, this one's going to need watching. Same situation for the storms coming out of the Port Orange area. Pretty good heavy rain right now across 1792 in the I-4 corridor in Seminole County. Yeah, it really does feel like spring today. Yeah, there's a ton of energy with this storms, Blue Goose, right? I mean, relatively speaking. Now, we can look at a couple of other things real quick as well. First of all, the Storm Prediction Center has us in that marginal risk of severe storms, as you would expect, right? Now, could it have been slight? Possibly. But again, we're not expecting this to be an extremely widespread event. You know, we had those 2 tornado warnings based on basically a severe thunderstorm that could produce enough rotation to fire off a tornado. But this activity will be working its way to the south. So that's good news. Tomorrow, we're going to be done. We're going to be quiet. This is the severe weather outlook for tomorrow. We're looking much better, right? So that's good news. But again, for today, we do have that opportunity. Temperatures across the state. Temperatures across the area look like this. You've got 50s and 60s outside, or excuse me, 60s and 70s outside, some 50s up in the northern panhandle, no doubt about it. These are temperatures with the enhanced satellite imagery, and we'll put that into play. And you can kind of see how this is going to evolve over the next couple of hours. There's just a lot of instability that came in with this system, and you can clearly see it picking up some of that juice in that kind of broad rotation here in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. If you were keeping an eye to the weather late last night, things got pretty rowdy across the I-10 corridor. First of all, really heavy rain. They had some flash flood warnings for portions of Tallahassee and the Panhandle itself. And then we just picked up a lot more juice in the atmosphere as well. So that's what's kind of rolling into our area as we speak. I'll go back over to the composite radar and the temperatures as well. Again, if you're just tuning in, guys, good to see you early on this Monday morning. When there's impactful weather, I'm going to be live. We had a couple of tornado warnings earlier. There's still going to be the opportunity for some squirrely weather over the next hour or two. So going to keep an eye on things. Thank you, Blue Goose. I appreciate you very much. So I'm going to stay with you guys here for a bit. If you live in Central Florida and you're being impacted by this weather, just like Blue Goose and Fiona and even our friend Garrett in North Carolina keeping an eye on things, we'd love to hear from you guys. This is why I do this. It's interactive. Let me know in the comments section below where you're viewing from, maybe how much rain you've got. If you've had some really gusty winds as well, this is the interactive portion of what we do. On the bottom of your screen, you're going to see live updating current conditions across Central Florida, many different cities. Again, it is area dependent right now. The farther south and east that you live, the strongest weather has yet to move through. Hopefully it will, come through in a very quiet fashion in your area. But there'll be the opportunity to still pulse up a couple of stronger storms. There's no doubt about it. But on this morning with you early because of the tornado warnings that we had. Now, live radar out of Melbourne looks like this. And again, my system just continues to monitor the situation basically. And so anywhere that you see these, I can track these out. These are just going to be individual cells. So there's a couple of still areas of interest, if you will, to move through the Metro Orlando area. The strongest storm is the one where the tornado warning was allowed to expire. That one has moved through Apopka. You can see the reds there. If nothing else, it's some very intense rain at this point in time. A little bit of lightning. You can see the live lightning count here at CFLW over the Lake Mary, Sanford area. So not going to be a lot of fun for any of the flights coming out of Sanford at this point in time. I'll be monitoring the winds. The latest wind there was at 23. Now, one thing I can promise you is that these winds ahead of these storms are going to be out of the south, right? Even a little bit out of the southwest. Behind this, you're going to start to see these winds turn a little bit more. They've yet to do it at the last report at 820, but I promise you, Leesburg has more of a west wind at this point in time. The land should still have a south wind as well. So your winds outside the storms are still going to be a fresh 25 and 30 miles an hour. Now, it's a little bit more congested over Daytona Beach at this point in time, but I-95 in Volusia County is wet. It's not going to be a really pleasant drive in Seminole and Volusia counties, and we still have our special weather statement mainly for the coastal sections of Flagler County. So Palm Coast, Beverly Beach, Flagler Beach, special weather statement goes until 9:45. Your main threat is going to be 50 miles an hour. Palatka had a tornado warning earlier. Did you mention? No, but we did have that line. Good to see you, Linda. How are you? Yeah, look, if you live, I believe, Linda, you said you live in Brevard County, northern side of Brevard County, Titusville or Mims, I believe. Yes, you are going to be within this line. Now, hopefully, maybe the intensity wants to stay marginal, right? Maybe we don't get any additional, special weather statements or severe thunderstorm warnings. We certainly don't want the tornado warnings out of this. This line is pretty congested at this point in time, right? So it's kind of hard to really get an area of rotation that's going to be able to kind of come out by itself. I've got to be honest, you can still see this broad rotation here near I-4 towards Lake Mary. It's very muddied down in this area. If there was one spot that I might be watching out for, it would be kind of on the south side of this because the air is a little bit cleaner south. We don't have the congested storms. We always look out for that kind of leading edge on the south side. Again, but this is all pretty congested right now. This is just a lot of rain that's going to be moving into those storms. And then other areas that might have to watch out for would be down here. Same situation. Pretty clean air out ahead of this, right? No storms that are going to be kind of clogging up the atmosphere. But nothing looks extremely, extremely rough at this point in time. Sorry about that. Again, if we track this out, I just want to look at the times here. Give me one second, guys. That's not going to be right. Let's see. So the interesting thing, all right, so they did issue a severe thunderstorm warning. This is exactly the storm I was about ready to track out. This is not shocking because this storm still looked relatively healthy. Now the interesting thing is when I do a manual track, I think we're going to get the right times here. No, we're still going to get the off times. All right. So again, because of daylight saving time, bear with me. These times are going to be an hour behind. So 9:43 Sanford, 9:48 Deltona, 10:10 Glencoe, 10:13 New Smyrna, 10:13 Edgewater, 10:15 Ponce Inlet. Now, even though those times are incorrect because of DST, if you look at the time to impact, that's literally counting down. All right. So for the Sanford area, the strongest part of that severe thunderstorm warning is going to impact you in the next 9 minutes, right? Towards the Lake Mary area, the I-4 interchange of 1792. There's Lake Mary down here, so just about 4 minutes away. And then moving to the north and to the east, Deltona impacts coming in about 14 minutes. And if this holds together, Edgewater 38 minutes, New Smyrna 39, Ponce Inlet in about 41 minutes. Linda says, dry, gray, windy, and Altamont. You got it, Linda. Appreciate it. They reissued the tornado warning too. All right. So again, guys, this is the situation, right? They are clearly watching these areas of rotation. So now we do have a new tornado warning. All right. All right, let's get the information on that. You can see how quickly this is changing. This is why, just because when we lose these things, we don't say, okay, we're done. It's not the environment that we're in. So tornado warning. This was just issued by the National Weather Service office in Melbourne 1 minute ago. Northern Seminole, North Central Orange, South Central Volusia counties until 10 a.m. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Wekiva Springs State Park or Altamont Springs moving northeast at 35. Again, these are radar indicated rotations, okay? Does not mean that this thunderstorm is producing a tornado. There has not been a visual confirmation of a tornado or reported damage of a tornado, but we do have rotation continuing with this storm. So the Weather Service, look, it's interesting because they just dropped this tornado warning and then 5 minutes later they put it back up. Altamont Springs, Lake Mary, Longwood around 9:40 in the next 5 minutes. Deltona, Orange City, in about 9:50. Again, these are relatively populated areas of Central Florida, friends. If you live in these spots, again, kind of portions of Seminole and into southern Volusia counties. So Winter Springs, Wekiva Springs, Lake Mary, Sanford, very populated area, Deltona, Orange City, across I-4. Again, you guys are now under a tornado warning. It goes until 10 o'clock. It's basically the same area as where they outlined the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take a look at the velocity, and you can see the reason why. This couplet now has gotten stronger. That is a pretty good couplet on the northern side of Wekiva Springs. Do you guys see how that red and that green are very close to each other? And these winds are now stronger, right? So I've now got about almost a 100-mile couplet, about a 94-mile-an-hour couplet right next to each other. Now, this radar is shooting a little bit higher in the atmosphere, so that's not actually at the ground, but it shows you the rotation. So again, let's be clear about this. This is why we have this tornado warning. And you can see that my system, you see those arrows, have picked up on that, and that's why we have this. So we can actually track this out as well. Let me clear those off, guys. Again, ignore the time. It's not, the DST has messed up the system for right now. I'll get it fixed. Look at the time of impact. That's what matters, right? Obviously, you just go an hour ahead, and that's going to be correct. But 7 minutes to the potential impact in Lake Mary. Across I-4 here in the Lake Mary area, this potential tornadic cell is going to be crossing that area in just about the next 3 minutes. All right. Then kind of on the northeast side of Lake Mary towards 1792, it's 8 to 9 minutes away. All right. Going to zoom out a little bit more. All right, here's our friends in Oviedo. So look, this is getting into the heart of Sanford, right? Sanford itself is going to be about 12 minutes away, but really the western sides of Sanford, 10 minutes, and towards the I-4 corridor of the Sanford area, about 8 to 9 minutes. All right. Yeah, Linda, it's just the time change. The system hasn't reset for the time change. It's as simple as that. We'll get it fixed. Obviously, the time on the bottom of your screen is correct, right? But one thing that is not messed up, obviously, and this is what I would be using most anyway, is when is this cell coming into your area? 6 minutes for Lake Mary, just a few minutes across I-4, 8 to 9 minutes for the I-4 corridor, and there's the update from the cell. The cell is now very close to moving right across I-4 in Lake Mary. Again, if you're just tuning in, friends, we do have a tornado warning for portions of Seminole and Volusia counties. Let's get you that information right now if you're just tuning in. This is about the 4th iteration of this individual cell producing a tornado warning. Again, let's be clear. These are, radar indicated rotations. We have not had anything confirmed as of yet, but we do have, again, tornado warning. Northern Seminole, north central Orange, south central Volusia County. Moving northeast at 35. This cell was near Altamont Springs about 6-7 minutes ago, and Wekiva Springs State Park. Again, now it's moving to places like Lake Mary, Sanford areas as well, Longwood, Deltona, Orange City by about 9:50. Sanford would certainly be included within this potential tornadic cell. When I zoom in a little bit more, right? Sanford proper, Lake Mary, here's the rotation. Whatever rotation is being produced out of this cell is moving across I-4 as we speak in the Lake Mary area. Now we're past the thickest commute, being 9:39 in the morning, but still, obviously, I-4 is very, very heavily driven at all times of the day. So commuters need to be very, very cautious of that. Outside of that, we have the broader severe thunderstorm warning, but that tornado warning encompasses most of that severe thunderstorm warning. That's the velocity product. I'm looking at the spin in the atmosphere. This is what it actually looks like from the radar out of the Melbourne area, right? So we're looking right here. Do you notice that there's a little bit of a void in the reflectivity? That could be indication of a little bit of spin. As that couplet tries to spin, it does obviously clear out. And so you get this little donut hole of reflectivity. Now, again, we're not shooting at the very lowest level of the atmosphere from the Melbourne radar. So this little pocket of lower reflectivity could be a little bit elevated, which indicates that maybe the funnel is not on the ground, but that is a very interesting thing. Now again, my system will update everything live, and that's exactly what just happened. They just updated this polygon. So anywhere west of where this polygon just went away, you guys are safe. You guys are okay. Angel, how you doing? Again, you guys got any specific questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'm happy to help you. A little bit of one, Blue Goose. It's not the true donut hole with low precipitation tornadic storms in the plains. That's when you typically get the donut holes, right? These are going to be high precipitation storms, all right? So we don't have kind of the same situation. Those are the ones that really clear out. But it is an interesting feature, right? But I am still definitely concerned about these particular cells. Again, the time is going to be off because of daylight saving. The time of impact is obviously going to be correct. So Sanford area, 1792 area in about 11 minutes. If you live in Sanford, if you live anywhere, here's the 417. So, you know, we're getting out of Lake Jessup. We're going near the airport. We're going to hook back into I-4. Just about 6-7 minutes away. Lake Mary, just a couple of minutes away. You know, anyone who lives in these areas, just make sure that they're well aware of the weather coming. Look, even if this is not producing a tornado, it could still easily be producing winds of 60 miles an hour and maybe some 3/4 inch size hail. You don't want to be stuck in it. Again, the procedures here in Florida, we put as many walls between us as we possibly can. We get to the lowest level of our house. Obviously, we don't have basements, so we're not going underground, and we just stay away from west-facing windows, okay? Because that is where the strongest winds and the hail would be pushed first. Typically, the west and the south sides of the homes, you're going to want to avoid being close to those windows. Those are the ones that would more than likely have the hail flying through. And it does happen, guys. You know, these storms have strong enough winds to push some of that hail right through some of those windows. So just keep that in mind. No doubt about it, Blue Goose. All right, so again, at this point in time, this is the only active warning of any kind, right? We have our special weather statement still for portions of Flagler County, but this is the only one that is a really, really nasty storm at this point in time. Going to be a lot of heavy rain, fair amount of lightning from time to time as well. But again, we do have a tornado warning in effect for these areas. Let's go back to our cameras. We'll start in Winter Garden. You can clearly see that the heavy rain has moved into the western sides of Orange County. You can see the winds are still out of the south. If you look in the bottom of your screen, I think from time to time you're going to see some of that rain drip across the camera or bounce off the pool cage. And again, we are looking west from this camera, but it is just wet. And it's stormy there in the western sides of Orange County. Again, this is now to the south and west of where that tornado warning currently is in effect, but the weather has gone downhill in the western sides of Orange County. This is just southeast of downtown Orlando, Lake Conway. We're looking east. Now you can see those clouds ripping across the lake. They are being pushed off towards the east and to the north as well. Again, a little bit quieter weather there. No precipitation, but the winds are howling, easily 25 to 35 mile an hour winds, even outside of the most active weather. And then a live look to our camera in the Disney area. They might have had a little bit of rain there. You can see a little bit of rain actually off the gutters, but apparently it's good enough for the kids, for someone to take the walk for the dog. And it's really not horrible there in Lake Buena Vista as of yet. The worst weather is to come, so getting the dog out for a walk right now is not absolutely the worst. Thank you, Blue Goose. Oh, getting a little bit of cold coffee. Coffee's coffee, though. All right, so back out to the radar. And if you're just tuning in, we do have a tornado warning in effect right now. The main areas of concern are going to be Lake Mary and Sanford. Once again, the times on your screen are going to be off by an hour because of daylight saving time. But we will effort to get those switched. I'm going to try something here real quick. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, it's just a system thing. Something that I can't change on the fly. I think, oh, you know what it is? It's probably, I think here, I have to adjust for daylight. I'm trying to do something behind the scenes here, guys. Adjust for daylight saving time automatically. Let me turn this on. I would love for those times to be correct, so I'm trying to work the system here. Okay. I'm going to shut that down for a half second. I think basically what it is that my computer, when it's not daylight saving time, you have to say don't automatically update for daylight saving time. And then when it is daylight saving time, you have to say, hey, please do that for daylight saving time. So let's see if we get this to work real quick. There we go. All right. It was worth it. It was worth the effort to sit here for a second and get this time corrected on your screen. So now we're rolling. Now we're cooking with Crisco. Once again, severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. Tornado warning is in effect. Let's go over the tornado warning again. They just reissued kind of an update to it. We do have a confirmed tornado now. All right, so this situation has become a little bit more serious in the Lake Mary area. Confirmed tornado moving towards Lake Mary, northeast at 30 miles an hour. Lake Mary, tornado imminent in your area. Sanford, potential tornado imminent in your area. Please take this extremely seriously right now. You can see that that couplet is right over the 417, 1792 interchange. If there is a tornado that is on the ground right now, it's going to be right over 417, 1792. This is a very populated area. I want to be clear about this. It's a very dangerous situation at this point in time. Once again, guys, tornado warning is in effect, and we now have a confirmed tornado. Lake Mary, Sanford areas here. Okay? Emergency management confirmed tornado. Lake Mary, Deltona to Barry, 950, Osteen at around 10 a.m. Heathrow could also be impacted as well. Tornado observed. Hail size, 3/4 of an inch or less. All right? You know, look, we just got to protect ourselves now. Can't do anything else to the home, to the property. If you live in these areas, you got to get, again, away from west-facing windows. Get to the lowest level of your home. If you have a 2-story home, just get to the first level. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, this is a serious situation. This is now a confirmed tornado near the Lake Mary area moving into Sanford. It's going to be right here, guys. That's where we're going to have that potential tornado. I'm going to switch over, see what we can see out of the Jacksonville radar from this. Probably not. It's probably too far away. We're going to stick with Melbourne here. So if you notice as well that my polygon is flashing, that is also an indication that it is a confirmed tornado. It's another thing, another part of the system as well. So if it's flashing like that, it means it's a very serious situation. Deltona, Geneva, Osteen at around 10. And once again, let's track this out. So now all of our times are absolutely perfect, right? So 4:15 coming out of Sanford, you're going to have the Osteen area here on the 4:15, right? So if you live in the Osteen area, it's about 5 minutes away, all right? And then this will try and push deeper into the southern sides of Volusia County. And if that cell were to hold together, you know, really the next populated areas past the 415 in the Osteen area ends up being I-95. This is relatively open land, farmland. There's a couple of smaller communities here. But then if this holds together, you get back to I-95, US 1, A1A, Edgewater, New Smyrna, right? But Osteen is right here along the 415. So about 9-10 minutes away at best. But again, we have a potential tornadic cell with a tornado warning and a confirmed tornado moving towards the south sides of Sanford, pretty close to the airport as well. Let me get on. So here's the airport. So this cell is going to be tracking just north of the Sanford airport. So they're going to have howling south winds that's going to be ripping into this cell. And you can see that reflectivity is extremely high in that same area. So it all kind of comes together. Once again, guys, if you're just tuning in, a confirmed tornado in the Lake Mary area, that was from emergency management. That cell has been tracking north and east. It is now over the Sanford area. Again, this was a confirmed tornado in this area. Moving north and east, you can see the times here, clearly on your screen. Now this cell, if it holds together, would go into Volusia County. But at this point in time, my biggest concern is the eastern sides of Sanford into the 415 area, including Osteen. This warning goes for the next 5 minutes. We'll see if they reissue it. Let's see if we get the latest update here. Okay, still the latest update. Again, confirmed tornado located over Sanford. So this was a newer update than even what I just read. Again, confirmed tornado located over Sanford, which is what we're looking at, moving northeast at 45. All right. So it was visually confirmed over Lake Mary, radar confirmed over Sanford, right? Deltona, Geneva, Osteen, around 10. Now, let's be clear. Deltona, right, is north of the lake, north of Lake Monroe. More than likely, Deltona is not going to be in the biggest area of concern. You know, I think it's going to be over here towards the 415 area, right? Kind of the south shore of Lake Monroe, and then the 415 itself. A couple of different spots we can track. You can see that one right there. Again, we're going to imminently be near the Osteen area in the next 3 or 4 minutes. And then this second cell here, and that's the back one. All right. So this was from way back when, and then anything ahead of that. But even Deltona is not under that track as well. Let's zoom out. I want to make sure I'm not too focused and I'm missing anything else. Again, nasty storms over Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach. We'll have to watch if this rotation holds together and wants to get back into more populated areas of Volusia County. But again, if you're just tuning in, confirmed tornado in the Lake Mary area here in Central Florida. We have a radar indicated tornado in Sanford. Same cell, right? It's just that we had visual confirmation of it from emergency management in Lake Mary, and now it's radar indicated in Sanford. Lake Harney, possibly. Blue Goose. We'll see how it comes. But again, you notice too that south of here, we're getting a little bit more congested rain. So hopefully we stay okay in the Orlando metro area as far as places like Orlando and Baldwin Park and Winter Park and Maitland and even Altamont Springs, that far north. Winter Springs, I think, is okay, right? You know, strong storm here, but that tornadic area is going to be north of you. Let's take a look at the the velocity as well. So here it is. Whatever rotation is left over is right over 415 right now. You know, anyone who lives in the Osteen area, 415, please make sure that they're very aware that there is a storm moving through with a history of producing a tornado. So it does look like, you know, the far eastern sides of Sanford would still be included in this. Just got a couple things behind the scenes here, guys. A lot of wind energy regardless. All right, so they have issued a new tornado warning. And it's going to include the areas that I just mentioned. All right. So again, you guys can see how my system does this. When we have an actual confirmed tornado, do you see how this polygon is kind of pulsating in a little bit different fashion compared to this tornado warning, right? It's a great system. I try and make it as visually easy for you guys to understand, right? Even so much so that we differentiate a tornado warning with a cell possible producing a tornado and a tornado warning where we have a confirmed tornado, right? So that's what this pulsing indicates. This is our normal tornado warning. Right? Now at this point in time, because it's only radar indicated, that's why it's this color. If we get another confirmed sighting, that thing will start to blink in a different color. So very clear to see. But the bottom line is now we're going to have a tornado warning here through most of the 10 o'clock hours. Let's get to the information on that. So tornado warning is now in effect for northeast Seminole, southeast Volusia County till 10:45. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So at this point in time, you know, the Weather Service out of Melbourne does not have any visual confirmation that we have anything on the ground. So they're going to go with severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Osteen, the 415, or Deltona. Again, Deltona on the north side of all of that, moving northeast at 30. Right? Deltona Osteen right now, New Smyrna Beach, 1010. Boy, they have this thing racing through. Is that right? I don't know. Port Orange, Edgewater around 1030. I don't think New Smyrna Beach at 1010. I don't think that's correct. You can't have New Smyrna 1010 and Port Orange, Edgewater 1030. Okay, we'll see if they update that. But the New Smyrna Airport, Lake Ashby, Farmington. Again, Lake Ashby, Farmington, these are more rural areas of southern Volusia County. Longwood is okay, yes. Thank you, Blue Goose. I appreciate that. And again, guys, I appreciate you guys taking a quick second to like this live stream, taking a quick second to subscribe to CFLW. I love bringing you guys this coverage, but we need to continue to grow here as a channel, right? We need more subscribers, we need more viewers, and you guys passing this along really helps out. Believe it or not, just hitting that like button does more than you think to the YouTube algorithm and lets people know that we're on who don't even know we exist, right? So I do appreciate you guys if you enjoy this coverage, you appreciate this coverage, and you want to see more doing that. Of course, we thank our sponsor, the leading law firm of Central Florida. Their website is on the bottom of your screen. We appreciate them being the sponsor here and the exclusive sponsor of Central Florida Weather Live. Bobby Lean and the team can help you guys out with anything that could impact you or your property. So for anyone who might be impacted by these storms today, and there's something you got to work through your insurance claim, the Lean Law Firm can help you guys out. Go to leanonmelaw.com for more information. So you guys see that near the airport, we have some really, really high reflectivity. You notice that those purples and blues are flashing. That could be a little hail core, or that could be some really, really intense part of that storm. Also, by the way, when I switch over to a different mode, you'll see that this will flash tornado warning as well. This is me checking out hail, by the way, in the background. Now, this is what we call gate-to-gate shear, and that is really bright right over the 415 and now closer to the Osteen area. Osteen's a little bit farther north on the map. But you guys can clearly see right here that we still have a very tight couplet. That's called gate-to-gate shear. That's what I'm looking at, right? You have winds that are very strong next to each other. That's what this product is showing. So I wanted to see if there were other areas too. We do have kind of stronger rotation in a little bit broader fashion, a little bit farther north. It's tightest, as you would expect, on the southern end of this. That typically is always true. But again, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be a little bit of a spin up in these areas as well. So that's something that we're gonna have to clearly monitor. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, this new tornado warning does go all the way to the Volusia County coast. It does not include Daytona Beach, but Port Orange South, including New Smyrna and Edgewater, it does. And it does go until 10:45. All right, and again, we're gonna get the more that the airport reports, the stronger those winds are going to be. So you can clearly see that each time we get a new scan from the radar, this gate-to-gate shear moves north and east. Again, looking at just some hail things here. There's a couple of, there's a couple of what we call dual pole products here. I don't really want to, it can get a little bit muddied. This CC, this correlation coefficient, can indicate debris. I don't see that. But you can clearly see that there was some definite shear, right over these areas right here, just north of the airport. I think the airport got extremely, we'll see. I mean, the airport could have gotten hit, but more than likely the airport stayed just south of where that worst weather was. But you can kind of see now that just like the radar was showing, there's a couple of different little notches along this line. Strongest one is still right here, indicated by the bright reds. It's now east of the 415, and again, it's pushing this way. So once again, my system has picked up on that, and we can see that. So this would be the area of I have the greatest concern. So for Edgewater, that's coming your way at 10:24, about 19 minutes away. Now again, the tornado warning goes all the way up here, but for this individual cell, maybe clipping New Smyrna at 10:24, Edgewater 10:24. So again, the times were obviously off there for New Smyrna from the latest advisory from the Weather Service. It's a good couplet still, guys. I mean, that is still more than likely a tornado right here. No doubt about it. Still really solid couplet. So you got to be really, really, really on your toes. Southern Volusia County, New Smyrna, Edgewater. No doubt about it. Again, this cell has a history of producing a tornado. See if we've gotten an update. This was at 9:57, so no update. Again, tornado warning right now, It's going to mainly be for Volusia County. It says Northeast Seminole, but this cell is beginning to get out of Seminole County and get into Volusia County. Sanford, Lake Mary, Deltona, you're looking better. Very rough over near the Osteen area at this point in time. Again, if nothing else, some extremely strong south winds are being pulled into this storm. That could knock down some tree branches. That could hit some power lines as well. Regardless of, you know, just how strong that rotation is, extremely heavy rainfall as well, really blinding rain. It's going to be wet across I-4 for the present time. And again, you can see that this line does extend farther south and west. If I go back out to the broad view, and we just take off the Melbourne radar for a half second, and we go back over to our basic composite, you can see. Now, just kind of south of where we normally cover, there is a tornado warning for Venice. This was the other cell that I mentioned. It's just south of Bradenton, Sarasota. I typically don't go down this far south, but if you know anyone who lives in the Venice area, they are also under a tornado warning. Again, well, they were under a tornado warning. Still a really nasty storm near Venice. So hopefully their heads up as well. But for Central Florida, again, tornado warning in effect for the next 38 minutes, right? This cell is nasty. It's had a history of producing a tornado in Lake Mary. We'll have to see what kind of damage might be caused. This is a live look outside to Winter Garden in the western sides of Orange County. Looks like it's raining cats and dogs there right now, guys. You can see the palm tree at the bottom of your screen. It's got a good south wind to it. In the background there is a lake, and you can't even see the lake right now. So it's coming down pretty good at this point in time. Overcast skies, brisk south winds. No severe weather for Orange County at the hour, but some really heavy rainfall. If you're off, out, you know, don't need to get out and about early today, it's a great idea just to stay indoors. But that is the intensity of some of the activity that's going to be moving through. And again, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a lot of live updates to the cities across Central Florida in real time. Give you the current conditions, give you the current temperatures across the area, which are in the lower 70s. Look, we should be relatively thankful that this system didn't want to come in the afternoon. I mean, we got the lower 80s yesterday. If there was, you know, if this thing came in the mid-afternoon hours, there'd be even more juice in the atmosphere, right? But it came in the morning, still produced some rotation, still have that tornado warning in effect. But I think that the severe weather would have been a lot more widespread had this decided to come in a little bit different time of the day, right? But again, you can see those brisk south winds still ripping across the western sides of Orange County. To Lake Buena Vista we go. It's not as bad there at this point in time. Winds are still quite breezy. We've had a bit of rain there, but it's been more kind of squally showers. But we're going to get some heavier rain to move into this area imminently. If you look at the top right-hand side of your screen, you see a little bit thicker cloud overcast coming. That is the rain that'll be moving in. We'll look at that in just a second. And then Lake Conway, again, a little bit east and a little bit south of the most active weather. You can clearly see, again, some thicker clouds racing across that area as we look off towards the east. And again, very, very windy conditions right now in Winter Garden. Just a good cell moving through western Orange County right now. South winds are going to be 30 plus miles an hour. Very, very heavy rainfall and very overcast skies. Again, friends, if you're just tuning in, nice to see you first of all early on this Monday morning. Not the best of situations, as we have a tornado warning that is currently in effect for portions of Central Florida. So that is the big story here on CFLW. Again, this tornado warning does go until 10:45, and it has now extended out to the coastal areas of Volusia County. Let's take a look at this. Again, severe thunderstorm cable producing a tornado near Osteen. Says near Deltona. There's a little bit of rotation near Deltona, but I think Deltona is okay as of now. Moving northeast at 30. Again, at this point in time, this is going to be what we call radar indicated, but earlier, this was a confirmed tornado near the Lake Mary area, right? More than likely that held together near Sanford, and we'll see the biggest area of concern is going to be right here at this point in time, just east of the 415. Now, the rain is going to be picking up through all of Metro Orlando, right? So Winter Springs, Castleberry, Altamont Springs, Maitland, the UCF area, Winter Park, Baldwin Park, Azalea Park, Lockhart, Orla Vista, Metro West, Ocoee, Winter Garden, down towards Windermere. You can see again, here's the Winter Garden area, but even south of there towards Windermere, where they just wrapped up the Bay Hill Invitational, the Arnold Palmer, yesterday. Glad that the golfers, didn't have to deal with this. Like this wasn't the last round, but you can clearly see now again, and there's Bay Hill, by the way, got it on your screen. Now, our camera in Lake Buena Vista is obviously right about here. We still have this cluster to come through. So for anyone at the attractions, or for anyone who works at the attractions, it's going to get stormier in the next hour or so. From this view, we don't have any lightning strikes. So again, there's not as much juice in the atmosphere a little bit farther to the south at this point in time. Take a look at wind gusts. So OIA last report a 25 mile an hour wind, Kissimmee a 23 mile an hour wind, 30 at the Executive Airport in Orlando. But we'll get back to this tornado warning as well. Again, you guys have any specific question about the forecast, let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate it. Again, thank you for supporting the channel as well. Your support means a heck of a lot to us here. It really does. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing to CFLW. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can find those ways to support the channel in the description of this video below. And we appreciate all of that as we continue to grow and trying to provide you this live coverage here of impactful weather in Central Florida. We appreciate our sponsor, the leading law firm of Central Florida, as well. So right here on the southern side of this tornado warning, let me reset this real quick, guys. Just go out to a broad view. Looks like the velocity might be in an update. All right. Yeah, okay, the half degree is at an update, so we'll just go to the 1 degree. Solid winds where I live right now, I can tell you that. So again, you guys can see we have this broader area of rotation right here, right? Greens and reds together on this velocity product shows you that winds are turning very close to each other in completely different directions. So you get that rotation. The brighter the reds, the brighter the greens, the stronger the rotation. And I'm looking for areas that are tightly packed, right? We're shooting a little bit higher up right now. Okay, there we go. Just got the lower level velocity to come back. It's a little bit better indication. Again, we want to try and be shooting as low as we can here with the radar into this storm. Now, again, what's interesting is that you have a couple of areas, and my computer has absolutely picked up on, if there were two areas I would be concerned about, it would be this spot right here on the far southern side of the warning, and then this little notch right here. So let's track both of those out. We'll start with the northern one. Now, again, we come out here, and we've got Edgewater at 1024, but let's be clear about something, right? If this has a cell that's producing rotation, or even actually is producing a tornado as we speak, it is going to be crossing the I-94-5 corridor in about 4 minutes. You can see that live countdown right now, all right? Then we start to get towards US 1 and A1A, and our friends in Edgewater would be impacted in about 9 minutes. Again, this is radar indicated. There's a couple of different spots. This is one right here towards Edgewater, and you can just see that regardless, there's a heck of a lot of wind right here. Just a heck of a lot of wind pushing to I-95, kind of broader. Now the other one is going to be this one down here, all right? And this one tracking kind of behind it, that little notch. And this one also has its eyes potentially towards Edgewater as well. It's going to be lagging behind a bit. You also notice that this part of the cell is pushing out more. More than likely there's stronger winds at the surface, kind of blowing that faster, right? It's kind of leaving behind the southern part of the storm just a little bit. Now, that can be good and bad. One, that might be able to reduce the tornado potential because that cell is kind of going to get a little bit more clustered, right? It's not going to be out by itself. The low level rotation might be a little bit more, marginalized because of those brisk, more southwest winds at the surface. But this could also push out a lot of wind in a larger area. So although we might not have the tightest rotation out of this situation, we could actually have a broader wind field. And in a general sense, it could actually cause more damage if this wasn't producing a tornado. Simply because of the fact that it's going to take that wind energy and push it out, right? I don't mind the rotation being a little bit more garbled, but I'm a little bit more concerned about a broader wind threat now as well. But we have to stay very vigilant because, again, this tornado warning is in effect. And there's a lot of rotation inherent within this cell. All right, we'll check the update. As you would expect, the tornado warning for Seminole County was canceled. And other than that, we continue with the same tornado warning until 10:45. Again, the tornado warning officially does go all the way up to Ponce Inlet. So I want to be clear about that, right? You know, if you live in Ponce Inlet and you have, your phone, with your alerts on, or you have an NWS weather radio, it went off letting you know that you're in a tornado warning. So I don't want to disclude that at this point in time. I'm more concerned about Glencoe South, New Smyrna, and especially Edgewater right now. Those are the areas that will be a little bit more closer to where we have this potential area of rotation in our tornado warning. Now it does go until 10:45, right? So we've got some time to sit here and monitor this as well. This is another thing. If I just showed you guys this reflectivity, you wouldn't know that there is a tornado warning associated with this. High precipitation cell, you're never going to see the rotation, guys. I mean, maybe the last quarter mile as it's coming your way, but you don't want to get out and about trying to look around. If you look at the velocity, this is where we can kind of discern that there is broader rotation. Now, again, it's a little bit more linear at this point in time here, right? It's a little bit more linear here. This is still not good. And they just issued a new tornado warning. I'm not Kreskin, but I've been doing this long enough where it's a little bit, second nature for me to figure out where the worst situation is. So just as I was zooming into this area because I didn't like what I saw, they have issued a new tornado warning farther south because of that. And now it obviously makes sense. So new tornado warning is now in effect. I think this is going to stay in Volusia County, but just scrape northern Brevard. Titusville, Mims, you are not in this tornado warning. This is going to be more for like Oak Hill, the far southern sides of Volusia County. So yeah, southeast Volusia County till 10:45, near Maytown. And again, you've got places like Maytown and Geneva, just really small areas there, but there's still some population centers. Moving east at 30, Maytown 10:20, Oak Hill, and Apollo Beach at 10:30. All right. Yep. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Teresa. Thank you for the update out of MEMS. Appreciate you guys. And again, appreciate you guys taking a second, saying hi in the comments section. Listen, if you guys live in Central Florida and you're experiencing some weather, it's not just for me. Let everyone who's watching the channel know right now what's happening in your area. This is a community. I want the CFL community to be very active. This is why I'm doing this, right? This is different than just watching it on television. We can be interactive. You can ask me questions. You can let people know what's happening. I can pass that information along, especially when we're talking about active tornado warnings, right? This is why we do this. This is why we have cameras and we're expanding that out. We can provide you guys a different kind of, if you will, personalized coverage than anywhere else you would get. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys liking this live stream. Appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. Once again, this is my biggest concern right now. Now it's going to be crossing I-95. So let's take a look at this. 2 tornado warnings in effect right now. This one that has a stronger couplet will be moving across I-95 in southern Volusia County in the next 8 minutes. All right. Then you're looking at Oak Hill, Apollo Beach at about 10:37, about 16, 17 minutes away. So US 1 corridor there in about 15, 16 minutes. And that couplet has actually gotten even a little bit stronger. Yeah, that's not good. First of all, that's a lot of wind that's being pushed out of this storm, right? But you do have some decent rotation in that as well. Now that line going away tells me they probably just canceled the northern tornado warning. That makes sense because I talked about how that was becoming more linear. So this is probably the only tornado warning. But this one is still a big concern. All of these red pixels are some really strong winds. Some really strong winds that are being pushed out of the storm. But not only that, you do have a back build of wind as well. Right? So you're going to have winds kind of rotating into the cell like this, right? But also there's some really strong winds ahead of that rotation that are being pushed out. So you've got kind of two different things going on here. You've got this really strong inherent rotation that's kind of coming in, and these south winds are pushing that in, and then it's spinning behind it. But you also have this push of wind coming out from the storm as well. It's a pretty solid signature, to be quite honest. Okay. Let's reset real quick, guys, for those of you who are just tuning in, and I appreciate you guys who are. Thank you for joining the channel. I have a last gasp of cold coffee. The reason why I like to zoom out from time to time, even if we're talking about an active tornado warning, is I don't want to lose perspective, right? Oh, come on now. Why are we still telestrating? I hit clear. I guess I also have to hit finish as well. All right. And the reason why I didn't want to lose perspective is that the rain and storms coming into Metro Orlando have produced a special weather statement, right? I don't expect this to get severe. I mean, again, we got to watch out the southern sides, but it does go for the next 51 minutes. Let's take a look at that real quick. Again, right now that rotation is in a pretty rural area. So they didn't cancel that warning, by the way. They just chopped off the southern part of it. So strong thunderstorms impacting Seminole, southern Orange, all the way through 11:15. You got some strong thunderstorms over Orla Vista or Pine Hills. That's just east of our Winter Garden camera, by the way. Winds of up to 50 miles an hour and some half-inch size hail. All right. Moving off to the east at 20. Azalea Park, Longwood, Oakland, Lake Butler, Claricona, some of the areas that will be impacted. But really, let's be clear, pretty much all of Metro Orlando is going to be impacted, including our three cameras, Lake Conway, Winter Garden, and Lake Buena Vista as well. Now, again, up to this tornado warning, it is not expired, right? So we still have this active tornado warning as well. There's a lot of wind associated with this, right? There's going to be some really strong wind over Edgewater at this point in time. It's moving fast. I don't see a huge couplet here. We're still much closer to the Melbourne radar than we are Jacksonville. So I don't think there's any reason to switch radars here to look from the north side. But that's a lot of wind over US 1 and Edgewater at this point in time. Moving offshore. But again, if we look at the reflectivity, you would never know. Just looks like some really heavy rain, a little bit of lightning. But again, there's rotation there. The cell it's taken over is a little bit farther south. This is not a great signature, guys. Again, tornado warning continues here. That's even stronger wind now. Now you're pushing almost 60-mile-an-hour winds in one direction towards I-95. That's like the kind of wind that can take down some 18-wheelers. It's not a fantastic situation across I-95 right now. First of all, the rain's going to be blinding. And the problem is that, commuters, travelers across I-95, they're going to see lower cloud coverage and they're going to see that it's a pretty nasty storm, but they are not going to see whatever rotation is embedded within this. It's just all they're going to see is blinding rain. Hopefully they're really slowed down. Obviously, you don't want to be going very fast as well, but they're going to get a push of wind out of the southwest across I-95, which could take down an 18-wheeler. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but I just want to be clear about the impact of this storm, right? We're getting a couplet of 80, 90 miles an hour, and if that couplet is holding together at the surface, you might have a push of 80-plus mile-an-hour winds coming across I-95 as we speak. Blinding rain to go along with it as well. Again, tornado warning does go until 10:45 in both areas. Could get some 3/4 inch size hail as well, right? It's not going to be the main threat. Obviously, the tornadic activity is going to be the main threat, but this cell could come along with some pretty gusty winds. Now, the wind is already picking up in Oak Hill ahead of this, right? US 1, those are already some pretty brisk winds. Now, these are going to be more linear in nature, but they could be seeing 40 to 50 mile-an-hour winds already in Oak Hill. But the couplet or the rotation is back here across I-95 as we speak. Not as much incoming as outgoing on the radar. Again, red away from the radar, green incoming, but still definitely some spin right there, moving right across I-95. And again, if you live in Metro Orlando, special weather statement for a while. Going to be some active weather here, although hopefully staying below severe criteria. Live look to Winter Garden, western sides of Orange County. You don't see much, do you? It's pretty gray and overcast as we speak. The winds are whipping 30-plus miles an hour from time to time. So some very heavy rainfall, ponding on roadways, isolated flooding is a possibility. Hopefully these cells are moving fast enough where we don't have a lot of that concern, but it is at least a possibility. So something to monitor there. But again, still a strong south wind there in the western sides of Orange County. Let's see if it's gotten worse in Lake Buena Vista, and it has. So again, the rain in the storm complex that's producing that special weather statement is just beginning to move into Lake Buena Vista or the attractions area. This camera is just 1 mile from the Magic Kingdom, right? And you can see that the weather is moving in from where this camera is. So Epcot, Disney, Universal, any of those places are going to get wet for a while here. Could be a little bit of lightning. There's not as much lightning the farther south that you go with this line, but obviously it's a poncho morning for the attractions. Not going to last forever, guys. Once this clears here in the next couple of hours, the weather will be a lot quieter later into the morning hours and into the early afternoon. But it's getting wet there in Lake Buena Vista. Lake Conway, you can just really see how those clouds have gotten a lot thicker and a lot more ominous looking. Now, again, this is actually looking east. We're actually looking towards some of the cells that are closer to the east coast, right? And you can see whatever wind is pushing away from the camera, and that's where the clouds are moving as well. But eventually, right, we're going to see the weather really go downhill in Lake Conway. It's east of I-4, and the worst weather is about ready to move into the I-4 corridor there in the Metro Orlando area. All right, back out to our weather computer. Once again, friends, if you're just tuning in, we do have 2 active tornado warnings for Volusia County. Now, the one tornado warning for the Edgewater area, the area of greatest concern is about ready to move offshore. But Edgewater just got hit with some extremely intense storms. Regardless of rotation, regardless of whether this was still producing a tornado, the winds came through in a high enough fashion where it could have knocked down some trees, some power lines, could have put some tree limbs on the roads, some extreme heavy rainfall to go along with this. That area of concern is beginning to move offshore. The other area of concern, which is a little bit more prominent for me right now, is getting closer to the Oak Hill area, right? And now we're talking about within just the next 6 minutes or so, having this storm move across US 1, where we have the strongest rotation, right there, okay? So we have to keep an eye out on that. Again, tornado warning is still in effect until 10:15. But the southern sides of Volusia County, Oak Hill area, next 5 or 6 minutes, that is when the area of strongest rotation, deepest concern to me, will be moving through. As I've stated many times, you're never going to see that rotation if it's still there. It is embedded with extremely heavy rain. It just moved across I-95, right? So now we've got to deal with it east of 95 into the Oak Hill area. Let's see if we got an update from the Weather Service from that warning. They updated at 10:24. Yeah, still radar indicated. Oak Hill, Apollo Beach at 10:30. The weather's starting to certainly go downhill, right? There's no doubt about it. Like, it's 10:31. The rain, the winds are picking up in Oak Hill and Apollo Beach. The area that has the greatest rotation is still west of you guys, though, right? So over the next couple of minutes, this is when we start to see this go. Whatever this impact is going to have is going to move right across Oak Hill. Know anyone who happens to live in Oak Hill? It's not the biggest area of southern Volusia County. You know, it's not a ton, but, as have mentioned, there's a lot of condos. Obviously, we're talking about the east coast of Florida. You're going to have some populated centers along the coast, right? But just keep that in mind, guys, that Oak Hill, Apollo Beach, Edgewater, all under tornado warnings at this point in time. That couplet looks a little bit cleaner right now. I don't see those. Notice how those bright reds are now out ahead of where we have this rotation. Again, it really looks like some of that wind has pushed out from that cell. But that's a broader field of extremely strong winds. Hopefully it garbled up the rotation, right? Didn't allow there to be a clean atmosphere. These cells on the southern sides, what they really want is they want clean air. And you notice that again, they have now allowed that tornado warning to expire for the Edgewater area because the area of concern has now moved offshore. So it's not a threat any longer to the coastal sections of Volusia County in that area. This tornado warning will continue, though, because again, the area of concern is still yet to move through US 1 Oak Hill, Apollo Beach, right? But blinding rain coming out of this. But there is some rain south of here, so it's congesting that rotation just a little bit, not allowing there to be clean air moving into the storm. And that's good. That's exactly what we want. We don't want this thing to spin up. Now, the interesting thing about this is we talked about the friction difference between land and water. There is certainly a possibility that even with this cell here, that you notice that this couplet might get a little bit stronger. All the time, as these cells come offshore and they're rotating, water spouts. They're moving away from land, but they get into that smoother ocean water, right, relatively speaking, compared to the friction of land, and there's that friction difference. You see these couplets tighten up like that all the time as they move off the East Coast. We see it in the flipped version with hurricanes as they rotate inland, right? Hurricanes moving north. We're on the northeast quadrant. These storms are rotating from the Atlantic onshore. They go from water to land, the friction difference, and now you have spin-ups that move onshore, right? At least these are moving offshore. But it's not going to surprise me if you start to see like that couplet right there just get a lot brighter and stronger. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Live coverage of tornado warnings here on Central Florida Weather Live early on this Monday morning. Nice to see you guys. It's not as early as it was, right? It's now 10:30. Appreciate you guys tuning in. While you're here, thank you for liking the channel. If you haven't as of yet, or liking the live stream, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Again, appreciate you guys. Anytime there's impactful weather here in Central Florida, I'm going to be on to cover it. Obviously, we took it up a notch this morning, didn't we, with these tornado warnings. Now, again, if you're just tuning in, let's be clear. We did have a confirmed tornado in Lake Mary. That was emergency management confirmed, right? and then radar indicated in the Sanford, Osteen areas. Ever since then, it's been a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, right? Which is kind of the lowest, if you will, category of why they would issue a tornado warning. But we have to keep a vigilant eye. Whatever rotation is still occurring with this storm is right over Oak Hill as we speak. All right, still over Oak Hill, still have the tornado warning. You can clearly see that we are literally within a minute of impact for Oak Hill and US 1. It's happening as we speak. Fiona says heavy rain, internet down for a few minutes, and it's never down. Blue Goose says St. Augustine trying to clear up. Appreciate the information, guys. Thank you very much. So again, as we get towards extreme coastal areas of southern Volusia County, hopefully whatever rotation is out there will be offshore in about 7 minutes. But whatever this storm brought has just moved through Oak Hill. Now again, if I click a spot where the storm has already moved through, it's not going to say time until impact, it's going to say time since impact, and it's going to count up. So we can even go back and see just how long it's been since that cell moved through, right? So that cell literally just passed through Oak Hill, and so that time will actually climb, and the farther west that you go, you know, it will show you again how long it's been since the impact of the storm, and then obviously east of there, time until impact. Let's go back out to the broad view. Let's clear that off. Once again, for Metro Orlando, rough weather as we speak. And when I mean Metro Orlando, I mean Winter Springs, Oviedo, Chuliota, Castleberry, UCF, University Park, Alafaya, Azalea Park, Goldenrod, Winter and Baldwin Parks, Eatonville, Maitland, Castleberry, Altamont Springs, Fairview Shores, on over towards Delaney Park, and there's the Conway area. So this is where our camera is here, Lake Conway. Again, south and east of downtown Orlando. Heaviest rain is about ready to move through, right? Oak Ridge, I-4, down towards I-Drive and Lake Buena Vista. So this is where our other camera is right there. Again, good to have the Arnold Palmer Invitational wrap up there at Bay Hill before this moved through, right? They had a heck of a lot of wind on Thursday, but the weather otherwise was cooperative. If I go off to our composite radar here, let me just loop this up over the last couple of hours. So you guys will get the idea. And the polygons will even come on as well. So this was this one cell that started producing a tornado warning as far west as Sumter County, okay? Through Lake, Orange, Seminole, Volusia, and then southeast Volusia counties. This one cell held together so well. And again, this was the cell that had indicated a tornado in Lake Mary. And to back this up in the time, they had just, you know, my thought is, right, there was no tornado warning. They issued a severe thunderstorm warning, and then literally like 2 minutes later, they issued the tornado warning. My thought is they issued the tornado warning because they got the visual confirmation of a tornado. They had gone severe thunderstorm warning, and then you snap your finger and a tornado warning pops up. It's indicative of the fact that they actually got visual confirmation, right? So again, that tornado warning was issued for the Lake Mary area just before 9:40. And then you notice how, again, my system will make it a little bit of a different color when it's a confirmed tornado. And that's what came through Lake Mary, Sanford about 9:45. All right, so a little less than an hour ago. And then ever since then, it's been radar indicated. But you can see how nasty that is. Now again, down towards Venice, south of Bradenton, Sarasota, they also had their own tornado warning for a very brief time. Generally speaking, north and west, we're still seeing some showers redevelop, but we're behind the biggest instability in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is what we call raked. So we're not going to more than likely see any really heavy activity develop behind this, but still could see some rain over Ocala and our northwest areas, Marion and Citrus counties. But again, we still have some active weather to talk about, but that's kind of the broad view of what things look like over the past couple of hours. The risk for severe weather is going to stay with us here. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. We're under that green, that marginal risk. They're just not expecting there to be any big severe weather outbreak today. And again, the weather overall, beginning in the next hour or two, will begin to calm down. And that should do it for the rest of the day, right? We got to just push this through and then we'll be okay. Current winds look like this. You've still got some 30 to 35 mile an hour winds in our western areas. Again, outside of the cells. Here we've got a 38 in downtown Orlando. So again, easily 40 mile an hour winds with some higher gusts. Pretty nasty weather right now over Oviedo and Chuliota. Tornado warning still continues. You notice they chopped off a lot of it. My system has the worst weather now, almost offshore. You again can see all those bright reds, right? And there's that couplet that I mentioned to the north. Not too bad, but look at all of that pink. That's a lot of wind that just got pushed off the Volusia County coast. But hopefully, Oak Hill just saw some wind more than anything else. Yep, the atmosphere is raked, man. So, you know, when I say that, what I mean by that is that all the juice is gone. So although we might see the redevelopment of some showers, more than likely we're not going to see the redevelopment of even stronger storms. You want your area to have the atmosphere that's raked, no doubt about it. All right, friends, I am going to go grab a quick bottle of water. While I do that, enjoy the Winter Garden camera. I will be back in just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. By the way, for the record, this will also be CFLW, the show for today. We'll talk about the forecast once the weather calms down a little bit as well. But, you know, obviously, look, this is the nature of this channel, right? Whenever there's impactful weather going to come on, we're going to cover it for you guys live. Appreciate you guys taking a bit of your time to tune in. Live look to Winter Garden, still extremely strong winds. Now, Winter Garden being on the western sides of Orange County, the heaviest rain has just come through. There's still a lot of wind energy as well. That'll be blowing in with some of the drier air. But far western Orange County, we're starting to see that rain come down a bit. Still wet towards Lake Buena Vista. Still actually, even though they've already had some heavier showers come through, the bulk of the activity is still yet to move through Lake Buena Vista. Now that far south is not going to be as prominent and it's not going to stick around for as long, but that opportunity will still be there in this area. We'll watch out for the attractions. And then the Conway cam should be a little bit more active, but again, we're still kind of a few minutes away from some of that heavier rain to move across Conway, but you can clearly see that the skies have really gotten a lot darker in the Conway area. The winds have freshened up again. Lake Conway is south and east of downtown Orlando. So back out to the broad view for you guys. And again, you know, the other thing about, you know, what I do here on Central Florida Weather Live is that there's no time constraints, right? You know, we don't have to worry about programming or anything else like that. We can take our time. We can cover this as necessary, right? As expected, this tornado warning has been allowed to expire in the Oak Hill area of southern Volusia County. That is good news. We still have our special weather statement for Metro Orlando. In general, this is going to be a heck of a lot of rain in a short amount of time and some really gusty winds. You can see that downtown Orlando just reported a 38-mile-an-hour wind gust. Just checking to make sure there's no flood advisories anywhere. I do not see anything as far as that goes. That's good. Ponding on roadways? Absolutely. Again, all of this activity is kind of moving east as the individual cells are moving north, right? And you can see how just much more clustered together that they are in this area right now. But, you know, it's wet in downtown Orlando right now. Not fun towards Lake Eola. Delaney Park, Fairview Shores, Winter Park, Baldwin Park, Union Park, Goldenrod, UCF, even down towards Millennia, right? Again, back down towards Lake Buena Vista, they're kind of just on the outskirts of this, still expecting a little bit heavier rain to kind of move through the World Drive area there, 535 Lake Buena Vista, towards 429 Western Way, right? Really heavy rain earlier, Hamlin, Lake Butler, Dr. Phillips, Metro West. Still dry at MCO. You can almost kind of see like the south wind is trying to pull in a little bit more over Polk County. Fresh winds there over Winter Haven. You know, we've had a little bit of rain, but more wind than anything over Tampa and St. Pete, 30 to 35 mile-an-hour winds. You know, the rain has picked up from time to time over Bradenton as well. Just, you know, kind of more spotty rain along the west coast until you get down towards Venice, and then you actually have that one tornado warning for a brief time. Well, that's not live. That's live. Okay. A couple little cells to track here. All right, so the cell near Sanford, moving at 50 miles an hour, less than a half-inch size hail. And what I really want to see is that it says there is no rotation and that there is no tornadic potential. That is what we want to see. Here's this cell near the Oviedo area. It is also moving fast northeast at around 46, less than a half-inch size hail, no rotation, no tornado expected out of that individual cell as well. And again, we can look at where it would be impacting. So again, I-95 corridor of southern Volusia County in about 17 minutes. Let me get back over to our chat here. Again, guys, if you have a specific question, let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate it. Stick around because, first of all, we're going to be covering this severe weather until I think the threat is gone. And then we'll do a little bit of forecasting because, again, this will also serve as CFLW, the show for today as well. We'll talk about what I expect after that. Let's see here. See if I can get this thing to go back live. Give me just 1 second here, guys. I might have to do this real fast. Just kind of reset the scene. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So again, you can see that this goes for the next 25 minutes. Now, let's be clear about something. Western sides of this special weather statement, the weather is getting better already. So Lockhart, Pine Hills, Gotha Metro West, Windermere, Oakland, Ocoee, Winter Garden, Hamlin areas, eastern sides of Lake County, Claremont, Montverde, Asatula, we're looking better. Looking better in Apopka as well. It's areas to the east of this. Again, 417 up towards Oviedo, UCF, University Park, Goldenrod, Lake Jessup, places like that, Winter Springs, Chuliota, Bithlo, Avalon Park, Alafaya. Heaviest rain right now, by the way, is really over downtown Orlando. I mean, Delaney Park, downtown, 408, I-4 interchange. Not going to be fun to be a driver right now at 10:50 in the morning going through the heart of downtown Orlando. 40-mile-an-hour winds and some blinding rain. Hopefully everyone is behaving as far as driving goes, and we're not trying to be too fast outside. But you can see our Conway camera is right here, and some of the thickest weather is just to the northwest of that. We should get some rain out of that Conway cam. We'll see. I always feel like there's a barrier over this Conway cam, and that you've got these cells even splitting right now from Pine Castle to Delaney Park, and then in between there's just little void where Conway gets just a bit of that rain. But again, it's still pretty heavy on the eastern side as well. Scattered rain over Haines City, Lakeland, Auburndale. Kissimmee has a 24-mile-an-hour wind, right? Let's bring up the wind directions. So this is just kind of a broad look at the winds. Now again, through most of Central Florida at this point in time, you're still going to have a south to a southwest wind. Imminently, though, the winds are going to be turning out of the west as this system pulls through. Obviously, it's going to start on the west coast first. Crystal River's winds have turned west. Towards Spring Hill, they've turned west. Zephyr Hills, they're west right now as well. Kissimmee's winds are still southwest. So there you go. You get the idea. West winds have pushed close to I-75. Still have southwest winds to south winds along the coastline of the East Coast. Titusville right now still has a south wind. So in general, your winds will be south to southwest and then west. Once you get that west wind, you know that you're fine as far as any stronger storms. It means that you're kind of on the back end of everything. We could see exactly what's happening right now and the redevelopment of some very light rain underneath this overcast skies. So I don't want to say it's going to be completely dry for the rest of the morning hours into the early afternoon for Ocala and the Villages and Crystal River and Bushnell and Leesburg and places like that. But the worst weather is past you, right? Still have the south to southwest wind. You still have the opportunity to get a little bit some stronger weather here. Goldenrod, Winter Park, Union Park, Azalea Park here, eastern sides of Metro Orlando. And again, back down towards Lake Buena Vista. Obviously, if you guys know, this is where all the attractions are. So we keep a really close eye on those spots as well. Speaking of that, let's get back to our cameras. This can kind of give us an idea of how things are going. So in Winter Garden, in the western sides of Orange County, still a lot of gray. Do you notice, though, that the clouds are moving a little bit more towards the camera now? The winds have definitely shifted a little bit more southwest to even west-southwest, right? See how these clouds are moving into the camera as we look off to the west, where earlier in the day they were ripping left to right on your screen? Again, a good indication that the winds are beginning to turn there and that things are getting a little bit quieter in western Orange County. So for Winter Garden, Ocoee, Apopka, things should be improving. In Disney, again, kind of just on the outskirts of some of that heaviest activity. The winds are a little bit calmer there. Still some gray skies, still some rain to move through. We're not completely done here in Lake Buena Vista. Obviously, if you look on the street, they got some decent rain, right? A little bit of water going down towards the storm drains as we speak. Nothing outrageous. Ponding on roadways is absolutely going to be possible. That's why the I-4 drive, hopefully you'll slow it down a bit. And again, hey, it's finally raining in Conway. They at least got a little something there. Now, again, that shot we can still see across the lake. So it's not blinding rain, right? It's not cats and dogs rain in Conway, but they're getting some rain as we speak. I mean, obviously here, just look on the roof there of the dock, and you'll clearly see that there's a little bit of moisture on it. So it's raining a bit. There's some breezy conditions there as well. In general, it does look like the intensity of this is coming down a bit, and there's exactly what we want to see. But that being said, we still have our special weather statement that's still in play as well. So get back out to the broad view. Always like to get out to the broad view from time to time. I don't want to be so focused I miss something. The storms that produce the tornado warnings obviously have special marine warnings. Boaters aren't going to want to be dealing with that. But look, even Edgewater, Oak Hill areas that just got done with these tornado warnings are getting raked by some heavier rain. That is trying to get as far south in Brevard County as the Mims area. So some heavier rain trying to move back in towards Mims as well. And again, this special weather statement for Metro Orlando goes for the next 19 minutes. But it's been in place so long that really, as this is moving east, the western and the northwest sides of this polygon, the weather has vastly improved since the Weather Service has issued this special weather statement. Again, they typically issue special weather statements for a little bit longer in time. So this was issued at 10:22, so about 34 minutes ago. And again, 50-mile-an-hour winds and up to some half-inch sized hail. I have not seen any of you guys report any hail. Obviously, if that actually is, you know, something that has been happening in your area, let me know. I haven't really seen it as well, which is good news. It was much more about the inherent rotation within some of these storms. Let's check out the let's check out our wind gusts again. Still 38 in downtown, 20 now up to 38 at MCO. That's what I wanted to look at. So now on the south side of this, you know, you've got Orlando International producing almost a 40-mile-an-hour wind. That's that south wind that's feeding into all this moisture, producing these showers. You know, this is outside of any rain. I mean, it's hardly rained south of the beach line, which is the 528. But now you have 40-mile-an-hour winds near Meadow Woods and Lake Nona Medical City on over towards MCO. Hunters Creek as well. Kissimmee has a 24-mile-an-hour wind with some light rain across 192 and the turnpike there. Scattered heavier rain over Davenport, Auburndale. Again, west of I-4 in this area, we're looking a lot better. Switch over to the Tampa radar site for just 1 second to kind of pick up the rain there. Again, live radar out of Tampa. Very spotty rain, but very breezy conditions. Again, St. Pete, 26-mile-an-hour wind up towards Largo, 35. Tampa, about a 25-mile-an-hour wind. Plant City, a 30. Zephyr Hills, 35. So still very gusty winds as the air begins to dry out a bit, right? And, you know, in these areas, we're already getting some peaks of sunshine, okay? As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the visible satellite imagery here. And you can kind of see that. You can see really the drier air beginning to push towards the Nature Coast. But even here, you know, it's a little bit hard to tell, but there's just a little bit more break in the cloud coverage in this area. But eventually it's all going to be coming our way, right? Loop this up for you guys real quick. So you can really see that energy. And obviously with sunrise being a while ago, I thought I didn't have that loop for that long anyway. All right, behave. So you can just see that energy right here. Nice little mid-level push, feeding in what we had. Behind it, here comes that drier air in much cooler conditions as well, by the way. It's going to get cooler. It's not going to get outrageously cold, but the weather will get a little bit tamer here for the next little bit. All right, so let's get back out to what's happening right now. Again, the trend is our friend, right? Everything is looking better at this point in time. Let me go back over to the Melbourne radar. A little bit better perspective of this special weather statement. What's interesting is it really looks like the heaviest rain is outside the special weather statement right now. I mean, southern Volusia, far northern sides of Brevard County. Mims, you know, right near Mims right now, a little bit of lightning just beginning to pick up. South side of Mims, okay. North side of Mims is raining pretty darn heavy. But I do feel better about kind of how this is trending at this point in time, right? Certainly looking a little bit better. It feels like they're just gonna let this continue to go. I don't know if the activity in Metro Orlando really warrants a special weather statement. I mean, we did have a 38-mile-an-hour wind gust. It's close, and that was at 10:53, just 8 minutes ago. That's close, right? You know, again, if it's trash day, that's not great. Any unsecured objects that are, you know, lightweight in your yard, they could get blown around a little bit. It's just not a situation, I think, where I'm gravely concerned. And you can really see that this is really thinning out here in just the last half hour or so. It's good news. We're beginning to get a little bit more stable air coming in, even though it's raining quite heavily. Now, the area that is actually kind of the worst weather right now is going to be Edgewater back down towards Oak Hill. And I mentioned these areas a lot today. It's not because of any severe weather, but that is still some extremely heavy rain and blinding conditions across US 1, A1A, and I-95 there in southern Volusia County. Winds have picked up in Daytona Beach, but again, skies, at least the rain has cleared a bit if the skies have not as of yet. So the trend that I expect, friends, is for this continuing, for us to continue to see some nicer weather throughout the day, for the rain and the storms to come to an end, and therefore to be some sunshine to return later in the day. I'm going to switch over now to the models, and we're going to take a look at some of those. Take me just 1 second here to get this looped up. So we'll start off with the HRRR model, high resolution rapid refresh. Again, we'll look at this over the next 48 hours. Let me bring up our model timeline. All right. Now the parent area of low pressure, by the way, that brought all of this is spinning up towards Atlanta, and you can clearly see that rolling right through south portions of South Carolina. We had a nice little mid-level kick of energy come out of the Eastern Gulf, which actually helped to really ramp up the activity a bit, right? I'll take this back down to, well, this is fine. I'll take it to noon. If I go too far back in time, like past when current time is, the system is not a fan of that. I found that it's one thing that will cause this loop to be a little bit more jittery, but we can start off at noon. All right. So again, this is what the HRRR model has in the next hour, right? Still has some scattered rain across Metro Orlando. It's pushing some of the heavier activity south and east. Now, we'll have to keep an eye out for whether this wants to try and ramp back up a little bit more into portions of Polk, Osceola, and Brevard counties. Obviously, it's been a little bit cleaner down there, so it's a possibility, but we'll see. And if we're going to get any activity to stick around past lunch, it's mainly going to be Osceola and Brevard, right? As I've mentioned, I can't rule out a couple of light sprinkles as we clear out, or some wind-driven rain across I-4 and other areas. But, you know, if there's going to be a heavier storm, it's going to be down in those areas, Indian River County included. Past about 2 o'clock, we're done. We're done for the day. We pick up north winds, skies begin to clear out. Beyond that, when you look at the next 48 hours, we are going to be dry in the area, okay? It'll get a little bit cooler, but nothing outrageously cold by any stretch of the imagination. Let me go to this broad view and kind of set up the next couple of days. So again, today, we're kind of the only game in town for the opportunity for severe storms, all right? Tomorrow, it's quiet across the country. We're quiet. We start to see more active weather develop on Wednesday in the Southern Plains. And this is the beginning of what could be a relatively impactful severe weather outbreak for the central and the eastern portions of the United States, okay? by Friday, we really have to watch out for this part of the country. And I'm going to cover a lot of that on the Weather Express channel, okay? But for portions of Arklatex, the Midwest, the western sides of the Tennessee Valley, big time concern for all modes of severe weather beginning on Friday. You've just got this high amplitude trough coming in, warm moisture laden air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. Now for us, if we go one more day out onto Saturday, it dips a little bit farther south and east, right, to include Mississippi and Alabama. And then on Sunday, it goes away. So at this point in time, just like the last big time potential severe weather that broke out, I'm not expecting it to have a significant direct impact to our area. We could get a line of showers and storms, but I'm not expecting it to be wholly significant. I'm going to show you the GFS model, and I'm just going to take it out a full week so we can look at this. Again, this part of our live stream will act as CFLW, the show for today. Probably no reason to come back on in just 2 hours. So we'll talk about it. But again, the great thing is I can do what I want. And that's what I love about this, right? We've been on now for 2 hours. It's been warranted, right? If we need to come back on, we can come back on. We can switch from covering live severe weather to talk about the forecast for a bit, right? And that's what we do on CFLW, the show. If you guys don't know, I join you guys every Monday and Friday at 1 o'clock, and we talk about the forecast. Monday's show kind of covers the week ahead. Friday's show covers Friday and into the weekend. To give you guys a bit of a heads up, if you join me for Friday's show, we mentioned how there could be some storms rolling through this morning. I'll admit that these got a little bit beefier than I expected, but part of that was that little area of mid-level energy that kicked out of the eastern Gulf to amplify the activity right over Central Florida. Northern sides of the state late last night were dealing more with heavy rain than anything, some flash flood warnings. For the Tallahassee area, we got a little bit more in the way of some active weather. So let's take a look at what the GFS has for this. You can see that really you snap your finger and there's that potential outbreak kind of beginning to develop here as we get into Saturday, right, for these areas. But notice that it does drive farther north. And then as we kind of get into, late Sunday and into next Monday, we'll start to see some of this move through. Now, the GFS may not have the best handle on this potential outbreak as of yet. And you can kind of see that spin is moving through the western Great Lakes, but that's going to drag. The problem with that, as the low being that far north, is that the warm sector of this storm system gets dragged pretty far north, which is why that area of risk is so far north, relatively speaking, right? You see it's so far north, and there's that beginning of the outbreak kind of right there. So Memphis, maybe Little Rock, maybe Nashville, places like that. But for us, I think we'll get scraped by it at the end of the period. But hopefully, nothing as far as severe weather goes. All right. So let's go back to where we are right now. And they are just going to hold on to this special weather statement. 5 more minutes. Conditions are improving, though. Winds are strong. Downtown Orlando, 35. MCO, 38. That's some good 40-mile-an-hour winds. Now, again, now they just issued a special weather statement here. I was going to say, if there's an area that we kind of have to still watch out for, as I said, it's going to be south of here, right? Because it's a little bit cleaner down here. We do have some congested rain that might squeeze this out. We do have a new special weather statement here for Kissimmee, St. Cloud, and the northern sides of Osceola County. So let's take a look at that. Strong thunderstorm will impact south central Orange and northwestern Osceola County through 11:45. Tracking a strong thunderstorm over Kissimmee, moving northeast at 40, wind gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. Yeehaw Junction, Hunters Creek, Kissimmee, Celebration, and the Osceola Heritage Park will be impacted. Now, Celebration is way up here, so they're kind of on the edge, but Celebration is a concentrated but heavily populated area there just south of the attractions, right? A little bit more concerned about Campbell, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Buenaventura Lakes, places like that. Again, 50-mile-an-hour winds are going to be the main threat. The winds have picked up to 40 already, so we could have some stronger winds. So the bottom line is, what could happen with this special weather statement? Well, it could knock down some tree limbs, which could cause some power problems. Any lightweight unsecured objects could be blown about. And obviously, if it's trash day, we might be meeting at the end of the street with all of our trash cans, if that's the situation. Once again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for liking this live stream. Thank you so much for subscribing to Central Florida Weather Live. I appreciate the support. We're bringing you live coverage here at 11 a.m. on this Monday with our sponsor, the Lane Law Firm of Central Florida. You can see their website on the bottom of your screen. If you're impacted by any of these storms and you need to be, need to consult and walk through the insurance claim process, the Lane Law Firm can help you do just that. Go to lanelimelaw.com. We appreciate them wholeheartedly being the exclusive sponsor of CFLW for the first half of 2025. So now we do have, let's track this out from Kissimmee. So again, the main impact of this storm, winds of 50 miles an hour. Kissimmee, as we speak. Buenaventura Lakes, 11-18. Could slip into the southern sides of Orange County again. So places like Medical City and Lake Nona could be impacted by some strong winds. And then Wedgefield at 11:45. So this is going to try and get back up towards the beach line, the 528 here, over the next little bit. And it'll be interesting to see if this wants to be the next thing that tries to ramp up. You notice that, again, most of this activity really went away in a hurry. All right. Who wants some coffee? I know I do. I'm going to go grab a little bit of coffee. It'll take me 2 seconds. But if we're going to continue... Okay, it still says 30. I thought MCO might have gone to 58 miles an hour, but it's still 38. So I'm going to grab a quick cup of Joe, and I will be back. Maybe you grab a quick cup of Joe. And we can do this together. I'll see you guys back in just 1 second. Okay, friends, I'm back. Now, normally I have coffee a little bit earlier in the day, but I just, I know it's 11 o'clock, but I just had to have a little bit here. And if you're joining me, appreciate you. Got my Buccaneers mug where a little bit of the logo has been scraped away from the washings, but that's okay. It's so interesting because you got two choices of mugs, right? You got the standard mug here. It'll keep the coffee warm for a while, but obviously I can do this for a length of time. And then I've got those, insulated coffee mugs, right? And if you try and drink that coffee in the first 15 minutes, you're going to scald your mouth to where you won't be able to drink a thing for, a few days. So it's always an interesting choice, right? Do you want the immediate coffee, or do you want to have coffee that is hotter for longer, but you can't drink it for a half hour? I will take the immediate relief of the coffee right now. Live look outside the winter garden. Again, thick cloud coverage here, but we're beginning to see conditions improve. And it's not going to shock me here, and we'll stay, I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. I'm just curious to see how these cells south of Metro Orlando kind of pan out. But the weather here on the western sides of Orange County, it'll start to get better, right? Still could be some sprinkles or some wind-driven rain. No threat for any stronger storms any longer. And it's not going to shock me if we stay on long enough that we start to get a little bit in the way of some sunshine actually beginning to return to this camera a bit, kind of just peeking through. Disney camera, again, looks okay. That cell never really punched right over Lake Buena Vista. There was actually some heavier rain earlier. You can clearly see the rain on the street as we speak. So it's been wet there, but the winds have actually calmed down a bit as well. And then Conway had a good brief shower, and you can just see those clouds, those really dark clouds at the low levels just ripping across the lake on the northern side there as we look off to the east. Again, everything is moving away from this camera because we're looking kind of generally in an easterly fashion. So conditions in Metro Orlando will continue to get better and better. Still going to be some wind, though, for a while as well. All right. Let me get myself back on camera. Nothing is really, we had a 35 at OIA, at the Executive Airport in Orlando. Now we have a 38 at MCO. And again, special weather statement here for the next 26 minutes. We can reset the scene. At 11:10, this special weather statement was issued for a strong thunderstorm impacting south central Orange County, the northwest sides of Osceola. Striking a strong thunderstorm over Kissimmee, moving northeast at 40. It's wind gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. Yeehaw Junction, Hunters Creek, Kissimmee Celebration, Osceola Heritage Park, some of the areas that could be impacted. And again, my computer continues to keep an eye on things. Right here, it shows you that some of the areas that could be impacted. Again, Medical City, right along the 417 there as it bends around the airport in about 10 minutes. Lake Nona in about 11 or so, right? Again, it's heavy right now in Kissimmee. This is where we have the most active weather, right over the Kissimmee area right now. No lightning out of this, though. If you look at the live lightning count here at CFLW, this particular cell is actually not producing any lightning. So it's about the rain and it's about the wind, right? Right along 192 towards St. Cloud, and then the Harmony Holopole areas as well, especially up towards Harmony. But with this cell tracking north and east, it's really going to kind of skirt the far southeast side of Metro Orlando, so MCO, Lake Nona, Medical City, and then work its way back up towards the beach line, right? And eventually, the smaller community of Wedgefield, which is located on the north side of the beach line, could be impacted by that storm in the next half hour. You do see the times there on your screen. Again, if you're just tuning in for some reason, first of all, thank you. Secondly, you missed the big show earlier today where we had tornado warnings that were in effect from Sumter County all the way to Volusia County. Now, you notice that they've also issued special marine warnings here as well, and these now go deeper into the southern sides, or at least central sides of Brevard County. If there's going to be any more impactful weather in our area today, it's going to be east and south of where this cluster of storms are, because we still have south winds, moisture-laden air, and the atmosphere hasn't been raked yet, right? There's still some low-level juice and instability in the atmosphere. Now, there's been a fair amount of cloud coverage across the area, right? This is the visible satellite imagery you can see that it's not like we have full sunshine here. So it's not like I'm expecting these temperatures to just rip into the 80s. That's good news, right? It's good news that we don't have to deal with that. Let me dump off that track. So it's not like I think we're going to climb into the 80s here and really juice up the atmosphere by heating the ground. But you can see that temperatures are warmer there, no doubt about it. The enhanced satellite imagery also just kind of shows you that there's a little bit in the way of some higher cloud tops in this area too, right? So we'll just have to kind of see if, you know, again, the atmosphere is conducive enough to allow some stronger storms to develop. The other thing too is that this stronger cell coming out of the Sebring area might bring some heavier rain back to Indian River County and Brevard County, but that might also kind of mess up the flow coming into the cells in the northern sides of Osceola County, and that's not a bad thing, right? If it congests kind of the atmosphere, we wouldn't mind that. So I wouldn't mind this cluster moving up and hopefully kind of not allowing this to get any stronger. Am I still in the chat? Anyone here? Teresa says cats and dogs and Mim right now with thunder. Thank you, Teresa. Again, you have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comment section below. Why are we back in time? Did they just issue a severe thunderstorm warning? Okay. Sorry. I can't look down. I feel like I'm cursing everything. I swear, every time that I look down at something, we have a new warning issued. I looked up and I thought that we were back in time looking over Lake Mary. But no, we're not. So they just turned this into a severe thunderstorm warning. Every time I look up, there's a new polygon. All right, so obviously the intensity of this storm has come up a little bit. Now let's be clear about something. This is going to include some populated areas, including Orlando International, which of course their airport code is MCO. And so guess what that means? We're probably going to have some weather delays at OIA because of this. So let's get you the update here from this new severe thunderstorm warning. It's for South Central Orange, North Central Osceola until 11:45. Severe thunderstorm located over Yeehaw Junction or the Buenaventura Lakes area, moving northeast at 35. 60-mile-an-hour winds is going to be the main impact. Orlando International, Yeehaw Junction, Hunters Creek, Kissimmee, and Campbell. I'm going to also include places that are a little bit smaller in nature, like Hunters Creek, and Meadowwoods, and Lake Nona, Medical City, even the Narcoossee area here in the far southeast side. Lee Vista Boulevard as well, places a little bit closer to the beach line. So, you know, this is pretty populated all along this area here, right? You know, you've got Cimarron Boulevard, you've got JYP, you've got OBT, Orange Blossom Trail, the beach line, the 417, which is the eastern beltway here of Metro Orlando. You know, it's a pretty populated area. It's a little bit sparse, obviously, right near the airport, but Lake Nona is one of the fastest growing areas of all of Florida. And so this area now under severe thunderstorm warning. This one goes for the next 20 minutes until 11:45. Garrett, I'm on as long as necessary. As much as I can, right? As much as I humanly can, I try and cover this impactful weather live. That's what we do. Hopefully more and more of you find this channel, and I appreciate you coming back, Garrett, as well. So thank you for doing that. Again, that's the benefit of doing this on YouTube, right? We don't have to cut into programming. We don't have to say bye-bye. We don't have to switch channels. We don't have to do anything like that. We can cover this. There's no time constraints whatsoever. We have some advanced technology here as well. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the presentation and you guys can see, you know, what we have done, you know, the financial resources we have put in here to try and cover this for you guys in a really meaningful way, right? We're trying to differentiate ourselves from anything that you're going to see on the rest of the YouTube platform, or if for some reason you still would want to watch any of the TV stations as well. We want to be different here at CFLW. The biggest thing is that we can chat, we can interact, you can ask me questions, and we can go through that process together. Also would love to hear from you guys, right? Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather is like in your area. It not only helps me out, but it adds a layer to this, right? It adds a layer to, you know, the coverage that we provide. Now, on this Velocity product, I want you to notice that all of our color is green. That is wind moving away from the Melbourne radar site because these are south winds. So south winds are moving north and away from the Melbourne radar site. But the biggest thing is you don't see any red in here, right? There's no rotation with this, at least as of now. That is good news, right? Hopefully the tornado threat has come down. Something I'm going to closely monitor, especially as we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, right? But at least I'm not seeing anything here. Now, the interesting thing about this, guys, is every major airport has their own radar. Do you guys know this? They're called terminal radars. And MCO, obviously being one of the biggest airports in the country, has one as well. I just got to find it. It's like a needle in a haystack. I know it's south of the airport, but with all these other colors in play, it becomes hard to find. Where did you go? Let me go out to the big view here. Make sure that the dots are still on the screen. Okay, they are. There it is. All right, so this, you want to talk about, give me the information. The terminal radar out of MCO, which I can tap into, by the way. And the reason why, first of all, these radars are smaller and they only go out a fairly small range. This is simply to aid air traffic controllers in the weather around the airport for takeoffs and arrivals, okay? But they're Doppler weather radars and I have access to them, right? So this is a neat feature here at CFLW. When storms crank up near the airport, we can actually take a look at the terminal Doppler, and I mean, it's sitting on top of this storm. Literally, the terminal Doppler is getting hit with some of the heaviest rain. But you want to talk about being able to really discern the winds that are coming out of this. You're getting absolute ground truth data from this. Appreciate it, Garrett. Thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. So here's the terminal Doppler radar right here. Now, again, this is a different perspective. I mean, my computer is really picking up the most intense part of this storm right over the terminal Doppler, just south of the 417. And again, the Doppler is located just south of the airport, right? They don't want to stick the radar right near the airport. They want a little bit of a breath, but you can clearly see. And so here is interesting because you're talking about legit ground truth wind. I can tell you right now that all of this is ground truth wind, right? If I go over here, and just to kind of show you guys what I mean, if I bring up what's called the radial tool, let me just get this out of here. I'm going to show you guys something neat real fast. We are looking 30 feet in the atmosphere, okay? We're 1 mile from the radar site on a northeast direction, but literally this radar beam is 31 feet up. So you want to talk about getting ground truth information, right? Whatever this wind is going to show, there you go. We're shooting in the absolute base of these storms. So this is why I would switch over to the terminal Doppler in this situation, because instead of shooting a couple thousand feet up from the Melbourne radar because it's farther away, again, let's be clear, radar beams have a little bit of an elevation to them, right? Even if they put them at a negative tilt because of the curvature of the Earth, right? The farther that you go out and you shoot this beam straight, the curvature of the Earth, the higher in the atmosphere you're going to go. That's just the natural progression. So the closer the storm is to the actual radar, the lower that's going to shoot. Now, there are slices that the radar goes through, right? You know, the radar goes through, that composite is they're going to go through all their different elevation slices, right? And then they give you that composite, or you can use the base. There's all different products. But for this one here, on this 0.3 degree tilt, you are literally getting the absolute base of the storm. So just want to point that out to you guys. and it is coming down. Now, because this thing is right over the radar, there is a little bit of attenuation to the beam. So your best situation is you want these storms to be right near the radar, but you don't want them to be right over the radar because you can get a little bit of attenuation to the beams as well. But again, if you're just tuning in, severe thunderstorm warning, it's moving into the southeast sides of Orange County and Metro Orlando. MCO, Lake Nona, Meadowwoods, places like that could all be impacted by winds of up to 60 miles an hour. And that's the threshold for the severe thunderstorm warning, right? They had a special weather statement for winds of 50, but then they freshened that up to winds of 60, and that's going to prompt the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, severe thunderstorm warning criteria, winds of 60 miles an hour and or inch plus size hail. That's it, right? Rainfall, lightning are not part of severe thunderstorm warning criteria. It's two. You got to have one or the other or both. 60 plus mile an hour winds, inch plus size hail. Simple as that. So we've hit the wind criteria. We're just under the hail criteria. I have not had anyone report any hail. If for some reason you got a little bit, let me know. This is the hail out of the terminal Doppler. It's not showing really any possibility of hail here as well, at least as of now. Let's take a look at its gate-to-gate shear. So again, if you guys were tuning in earlier towards Lake Mary and Sanford, you know, the radars are really popping off this gate-to-gate shear. I don't really see anything here. Again, this means that there's not any strong rotation within any of this. Now, this is going to show greens and reds because the storm is literally going over the radar. So as the storm passes by, this is going to turn red with the winds going away, and then the storm still flowing into the storm green towards, right? So that's not indicative of any rotation. What I would be looking out for is in this area where we start to get any green little pixels to develop, then that starts to show you that in a confined space, you're going to have more rotation. But right now, this is a very linear storm, meaning that the winds are all pushing in one direction. So at this point in time, I don't believe we have a tornadic threat with this. But it's coming down right now across Lake Nona, 417, Lake Mary Jane, Narcoossee, places like that. You can see it driving up. So again, all of those areas past, even Lake Nona, you know, there's still a heavier part here, but down the road, the Wedgefield area here, you know, maybe just past 1145. So at about 12 minutes, Wedgefield could be impacted by some of this as well. And it looks like they might have just dropped that severe thunderstorm warning, which would be fantastic. And they did. Now again, even looking at the terminal Doppler, I never picked up winds of 60 miles an hour, right? You know, the Weather Service obviously saw something that prompted them to have that severe thunderstorm warning, you know, but they took a look at it and they said, you know what, we're okay. So that's good. So that severe thunderstorm warning just expired. Was canceled early, really. Yep. Just double checking from the Weather Service office itself. Again, the great thing about this system is it actually will pick it up even before you can find it on the computer. That's how fast this thing is integrated into all of the products. So at this point in time, we still have a special weather statement. This was the one that was issued before the severe thunderstorm warning. So you had the special weather statement. They issued the severe thunderstorm warning for part of that area and then extended it out north and east, but the winds have come back down enough in this area or never really got to 60 mile an hour winds, more than likely, and they decided to go ahead and allow that to expire early. Again, we were picking up nearly 40 mile an hour winds towards the terminal Doppler here of MCO. They had a 37. Now look, it's still raining heavy and the gusty winds are probably causing some departure delays and maybe even arrival delays at MCO. You know, whenever you have this kind of weather, you're going to have more than likely some kind of a delay. Hopefully it's not going to be too much of a domino effect. It's not going to last too long. But that's not going to shock me if we have a little bit of that. This part of the cell is getting a little bit stronger down here. 91 on the map is the turnpike. So just south of St. Cloud, the turnpike and the 192 interchange there. Again, as I said, if there's any areas that could still get a little bit squirrely, it's here. The interesting thing is that this special weather statement is probably going to be creeping up north and east. And we'll see whether the combination of the two either ramp that up a little bit or actually help to kind of knock down both storms, because neither of them have any, real juice to work with. 35-mile-an-hour wind at KMLB there recently. 30-mile-an-hour wind in Port St. John, 26 at the Cape, 25 in Titusville. So the winds in Brevard County are picking up. Kissimmee did have a nice little fresh 35-mile-an-hour breeze as well, right? And again, sprinkles are redeveloping behind our main line, but no real storm activity is expected. As a matter of fact, just from this whole view, you only have 10 lightning strikes. In this view, you have none. So it's interesting because this is not producing any right now. This cell is producing a little bit more at 2, but a lot of that lightning is probably now even offshore. Yeah, that's where most of that lightning is right now. Special marine warnings are in effect from Daytona Beach all the way down towards Satellite Beach for coastal and offshore waters, as you would expect as these storms move through. Okay. So again, Brevard County, sorry about that. Let's see what we got going on here in Brevard County. So some rain, steady rain, I-95, Mims, scatter rain towards Titusville, nice little south 30-mile-an-hour wind there in Port St. John. Again, these winds are still going to have a south component to them ahead of all of this, whether it's south or southwest. The Cape has a 26-mile-an-hour wind. That is still due south. If you live in Brevard County, the weather is going to start to go downhill. Now, not everyone is going to get the heavier activity, all right? Not everyone is going to get the stronger storm, but some heavy rainfall to go along with a little bit of lightning. And the biggest kind of more widespread impact is going to be the gusty winds. There's no doubt about it, right? That's where we're going to have the biggest impact. Go back over to our composite radar here. Just want to loop this up for you guys. This is what it looks like over the past hour. Okay. Again, redevelopment of, oh my goodness, why does it do that from time to time? Apologies. Redevelopment of light rain, St. Augustine, Palm Coast, Ocala, the Villages, Gainesville, Crystal River, Spring Hill, Inverness, the Villages, I think I've already mentioned them, Bushnell. Just again, very light in nature. The winds will be the broader story there, right? I-4 is quieting down. We're looking pretty good from Daytona Beach, DeLand, Deltona, Sanford, Lake Mary, Altamont Springs, towards I-4 and south. This is the area that we'll be watching for still the possibility to see if something ramps up. It's really, I don't have a great feel for it, to be honest, because part of me says this thing could still be pretty strong as it gets to the Brevard County coast. And other parts of me says, it's a little too congested south, right? The air's not clean. It's not going to have as much juice coming into the south side of that storm. So we'll see. Now, I did mention that this part of the cell was picking up, and you notice that my computer, the radar algorithm, has picked up on that this might actually have a little bit of hail in it. So there you go, right? 50% probability of hail, no rotation within that storm. But this might throw some small hail over St. Cloud and Harmony there in Osceola counties. And if it's coming in a hurry. If there is any hail within that storm, certainly going to be some heavier rain and gusty winds. It's moving into St. Cloud in the next 2 minutes. You can see the time of arrival. For Harmony, a little bit longer down the road in about 7 minutes. But that's the 192 area here of Osceola County. 91 is the turnpike. So this is actually moving right over the turnpike as we speak, right? Impactful weather, moving over the turnpike right now. I mean, yeah, it's... All right. Go back over to the Melbourne radar then. Let's see what we got out of this one. Okay. Still have that signature on it. So this cell, you know, if it holds together, and it does look like it's ramping up a little bit. Remember, this was always kind of my thought, and why I kind of wanted to stick with you guys for a little bit is what happens on the far south side of this, right? You know, do we actually start to see a little bit of a ramp up of intensity? A little bit right now. I mean, that's a heavy storm over St. Cloud. There's not a lot of lightning with it, but the intensity has come up a little bit. You notice my computer is picking up on that. Racing off towards the east right now. It's showing that there could be some small hail associated with that near St. Cloud. Some of the times of arrival of this cell. Now again, does this cell weaken? Does it strengthen? Does it stay the same as it gets into Brevard County? Has yet to be seen. But some of the areas that could be impacted in your times of arrival. So St. Cloud right now, Rockledge, and you notice again, like kind of after St. Cloud, we get into some pretty rural areas here as you get into far northeast Osceola, southeast Orange County, until you get back into Brevard County, as far as any real population centers go. Rockledge 1216, same thing for Port St. John and Sharps and Cocoa, Merritt Island 1219, Cocoa Beach 1222, Cape Canaveral 1224. Again, this is part of the special weather statement. It's going to expire in 1 minute. So I am going to be very curious as to what the Weather Service wants to do, right? It does look like in just the last 5 or 10 minutes that there's been a little bit of a ramp up in some of this activity overall. It waned a bit right over the airport, and it looks like, especially on the south side, the intensity is coming up a little bit. This is a small little cell right now, but again, you know, is there the possibility of some hail? It's possible. Let's take a look at that product here. Estimated hail size. That is not estimated hail size. I mean, there could have, you know, St. Cloud to Harmony, there's no big signature here, and don't ignore that too in all of that. Just maybe a little bit across 192. Anyone lives in that area, let me know. But I think it gives you a clue that the intensity of that part of the cell might be coming back up again. So we're gonna sit here and see what happens together, guys, as to what the Weather Service wants to do with this cluster of cells as it is going to move into Brevard County. We already have our special weather statement, right? We've got some pretty good rain developing Mims, Titusville, Indian River City, Port St. John, and Sharps. So let's see what ends up happening here. And again, while you guys are here, I really do appreciate you. I'm just checking my thing behind the scenes to make sure that everything is still good to go. Okay. Yeah, we're just fine. While you're here, if you have not hit the like button as of yet, it's a really simple thing, and I really appreciate you doing so. It actually helps the channel out more than you think. Believe it or not, that interaction kicks that YouTube algorithm into play, and then our channel will show up on people's home screens who don't even know we exist. That's the first thing. If you're watching, thank you for tuning in and welcome. If you have not subscribed to CFLW and you want this live coverage of storms across Florida, whether it be impactful cold fronts like this, whether it be our spring, summer, and early fall sea breeze storms that develop on a potential daily basis, or whether it's tropical storm and hurricane coverage, we got you covered here at CFLW. Thank you for subscribing to the channel right now. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can find that in the video description below. And I appreciate those who have found ways to support the channel in that regard. Wholeheartedly gratitude and appreciation for those. Also, thank you to our sponsor, the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Storms like this that come through that damage your property, they can help you with the insurance claim process. You can go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. And we welcome the Lean Law Firm as the exclusive sponsor of Central Florida Weather Live for the first half of 2025. All right. So again, at this point in time, they have not issued, I did it again. As soon as I say something, they're listening to me and they're like, oh yeah, watch this. This is why I sat here for a minute, because like, there's almost no way that they can't reissue something for this cluster of storms. They're just a little too high end to not do something with them. So here you go. Not a severe thunderstorm warning, but a special weather statement. That seems right. But the question is, does this get a little bit more squirrely over time? So special weather statement now in effect for another half hour in this area. Again, right now, it's kind of St. Cloud and Wedgefield, and then it's gonna, eventually get into Brevard County. There's some heavier rain developing already, Port St. John and Sharps, but, a little bit more juice right here. And you notice again, we still have the storm producing the hail algorithm here, right? So, the I-95 corridor, Port St. John to Rockledge, with that hail potential in about the next half hour, which is how long this special weather statement goes. All right, let's get the details of that special weather statement for you guys. Make sure that I'm in the right mood. Here we go. So, they started to break this down like in even more sections of Brevard County, but it's kind of like all of central and northern Brevard, I guess. I mean, you've got the mainland, you got the Barrier Islands, you've got Osceola and Orange counties. So severe thunderstorm will impact northwestern Brevard, southeastern Orange, northeastern Osceola counties through 12:15. Strong thunderstorm near Narcoossee, which is the southeast side of Orange County, moving northeast at 40, winds gusts of 50 miles an hour. Again, gusty winds could knock down tree limbs around and blow around unsecured objects. That's the biggest story. The wind threat, trash day, it's not going to be fantastic. You have lightweight objects in your yard, you live in these areas, there could be some things blowing around. So Port St. John, Christmas. Is it Christmas time in March? I guess so. Yeehaw Junction, Bellwood, and Canaveral Groves. All right. Again, if outdoors, consider seeking shelter inside. It's always a good idea when you have these storms coming through. Now again, lightning count with this, a couple of lightning strikes. I do want you to notice though, that we do have a new lightning strike closer to this area that my computer is saying is getting a little bit stronger. You start to now get a little bit of lightning. That shows you that there's instability in the atmosphere, shows you there's a little bit of juice, right? So here you go. It does look like this part of the cell wants to kind of trend upward, all right? So that's going to be a situation to have to monitor here. Winds. Looks like we peaked at around 38, 37 at MCO. Still 35 down at the Melbourne National Weather Service office. 30 in Port St. John. Kissimmee had a 35. See if there's any gustier winds behind the rain. Still about 30 to 35. All right. So nothing's gotten crazy. But this part of the cell has definitely come up a little bit. Pretty good wind associated with that as well. Again, it's all right now in one direction. There's a little bit of a twist right there, but it's pretty broad and the wind field is very light. So the other thing about it too is like, look, you can have, and again, this is clustered on the north side. That's just not an area where we would really have strong rotation, even though you see that couplet. You can have greens and reds close to each other, guys, where you can maybe have this kind of broader turn, but the wind field is really weak. Nothing's going to really wrap up. You know, still an area to monitor, but you can clearly see there's been a good push of wind here out of East Lake Tahoe and then pushing into kind of rural areas of eastern Orange County, just south of the beach line. Wedgefield will probably get hit by some pretty good winds as well. Let's go back to our cameras. We're still overcast in the western side of Orange County, but again, those clouds are kind of moving a little bit more towards you than anything at this point in time. It's indicative that the winds have turned kind of in a broader general direction out of the west, certainly not out of the due south anymore, probably more west-southwest than anything. You can see the lake now at the bottom of your screen where, you know, when that storm system was coming through, clouds were so thick, the rain was so heavy, you couldn't even see the lake. But again, a great shot here because it is looking west. And so any of these cold fronts coming in, any of the sea breeze storms that are developing and moving in, we're going to clearly get a great shot from this camera here. Nice open area, so great to have that camera on board. We have our Walt Disney World camera or our attractions camera here. This is from Lake Buena Vista. Again, we are looking towards the attractions from this camera, looking south and west. Again, kind of overcast there. They had some good downpours. You can clearly see that still the storm drain has some water there on the street, but things have been a little bit quieter in that area. The winds have calmed down. Conway had a nice little burst of rain earlier, but it was quick. It was in and out of that area fairly fast. Again, this camera is looking east, so we kind of have opposite directions of our cameras. This camera is looking east. Now, when the sea breeze storms kick in during the summer months and the storms develop along the East Coast and they work their way inland, this is going to be a great camera because, again, we have an unfettered view looking to the east and we'll see these storms roll in. So, you know, we're trying to, put these cameras where we're going to have different angles. Of course, cold fronts moving in from northwest to southeast, you know, we're always going to get the back end of this on the Conway cam, but during our sea breeze storm season, we're going to be able to watch the East Coast storms come in from this camera, and from our Winter Garden camera, we'll be able to watch the West Coast storms come in. But we have plans to integrate a lot more cameras into our coverage, so looking forward to that. But you guys can help support the channel and bring those our way as well. So thank you for those of you who have found ways to support the channel. But that's what it looks like at this point in time. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. This will also encompass CFLW, the show. We're already pushing the lunchtime hour here. So again, if you're tuning in and you guys saw that I'm live and you normally join me at 1 o'clock for CFLW, the show, well, we've been on now for, what are we pushing here? Close to 3 hours, something like that, for what was several tornado warnings in the area, right? That started in Sumter County. There was a confirmed tornado from emergency management in Lake Mary, all right? And then radar indicated in Sanford, so Lake Mary, Sanford. Those tornado warnings moved through the central and the southern sides of Volusia County. Hopefully they lifted after that. But again, there was a confirmed tornado earlier today in Lake Mary. These are live wind gusts at the hour. What we're watching right now is a cluster of storms moving out of the eastern and the northeast sides of Orange and Osceola counties respectively and moving into Brevard County. Now, I've been watching a little bit of an uptrend in some of this activity associated with this on the southern edge of this. So, you know, this is one reason why the Weather Service went back to a special weather statement. Winds have not hit severe thunderstorm criteria. Those are winds of 60 miles an hour, but special weather statement winds 40 to 50, absolutely. You can see some of the wind gusts. Now, earlier, the executive airport in Orlando had a nearly 40-mile-an-hour wind gust, and we've had that 35 to 40 range, Kissimmee towards MCO. While you guys are here, thank you so much for liking the live stream. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comment section below what's happening in your area. I really do appreciate that as well. And appreciate all the kind words. But more than anything, guys, let's interact, right? You have a specific question, just let me know in the comment section, or just let us know where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. Again, kind of watching this part of the cell, which is where we're picking up the heaviest activity. Now look, it's coming down right now in Sharpston, Port St. John, but it's going to pick up even a little bit more here in the next little bit. So, you know, as we get past the 12 o'clock hour, the opportunity for a little bit more intense activity to come over I-95 in the Port St. John area in about the next half hour. The special weather statement only goes for the next 18 minutes, but of course that doesn't mean that they wouldn't reissue it should conditions warrant, right? And again, this is kind of the only game in town at this point in time, but it bears watching. Now, if I do a left click on this, it's going to kind of give you the more broad view. Again, northeast at nearly 40 miles an hour. Max winds of 50, Port St. John, Christmas, Yeehaw Junction, Bellwood, and Canaveral Groves. And so Christmas is up here on 50, north of the Wedgefield area. So you can see that this does extend all the way up towards the Titusville area, but I'm a little bit more concerned about Indian River City South, especially for Port St. John, Sharps, maybe Cocoa, certainly over Merritt Island again, as well, as this all kind of moves off towards the east. So, you know, the whole system is pushing south and east as the individual cells are kind of moving east or even on a northeast fashion. Now behind this, we're seeing some light rain redevelop, but there's absolutely no chance for any stronger storms in those areas. Anywhere west of I-4, you guys are in the all clear, okay? Still could see some breezy conditions and some kind of wind-driven rain, but we're not going to, you know, the atmosphere is raked in these areas. It's anywhere south of here. If you still have a south wind or a southwest wind, you are areas that could still see some stronger storms. And just to kind of give you an idea, right? Cape Canaveral still has a south wind at around 25 miles an hour. Downtown Orlando now has a west wind. Soon as that wind turns to the west, you're shut off from that instability and that moisture-laden air. And we have actually picked back up this hail probability. It's down to 10%. That's what I like to see. Can't rule out maybe a little bit of hail, right? Trying to sneak into this area. Oh, we have a secondary hail core as well here. Down to 10%. All right. So a couple of little spots in this line that my computer is picking up on the potential for hail. No rotation. Number one, that's what we want to see. But maybe some smaller sized hail. Again, the special weather statement does not discuss hail. I don't think hail is a big threat, but when, you know, the radar says, hey, you know, here's an area of the storm you need to watch out for that could contain that, we're going to keep an eye on it. Now again, no real rotation with these cells. This is all very linear, right? Winds going in one direction, right? We're flowing in winds out of the southwest. We're pushing the storms kind of north and east, right? So that's why, you know, you get southwest winds at the surface, but, you know, these storms are going east, and that's why you can start to see these, you know, broad spins. Just like the storms that moved off the Volusia County coastline. It's absolutely possible that as these cells get closer to the rivers, and you get the friction difference between land and water, that we could start to see that couplet tighten up just a little bit, right? Not saying that that's going to be indicative of actually producing a water spout, but that friction difference is a big time player in getting these small spin ups in this environment, right? Once the storms moved offshore in Volusia County, you saw those couplets re-intensify again as they got back over the relatively smoother waters. Again, there's a lot of friction on land for these funnels to move across, right? When they hit that friction difference sometimes, and all it takes is the rivers, right? Badena, Indian River, excuse me. And you can see a little bit of a brief spin. We had that the last time we were tracking storms in Brevard County live, where we started to get a little bit more of a couplet signature moving just across the river. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you guys as well. Again, special weather statement next 14 minutes. So basically till 12:15. All right, does anyone have any specific questions? You guys have been pretty quiet for a while. I don't like it. I don't like it. Don't like talking to myself. I appreciate you guys tuning in. That's obviously the most important thing. But again, we'd love for there to be some interaction amongst everyone. That's really what I'm hoping for down the road. obviously when we have hurricanes and stuff, the weather's more impactful and it's impacting more people at once. And so more people are chiming in. But just to have this interaction with the chat, I appreciate it for you guys as well. Grab some chapstick real quick. You start going on now for 3 hours and throats get dry, lips get dry. It's kind of like, how baseball is in spring training right now? This is kind of like spring training for me again as well. Getting back into the mode of ramping things up for our storm season. Again, if you are just tuning in, this is going to be the last gasp of any chance for storms today. We are going to get quieter for most of the week. That is good news. All right. There could be a potential severe weather outbreak in portions of the central and the eastern sides of the country Friday and into Saturday. Right. I'll have more on that on Friday's show. And we'll talk about if that's even going to cause us any issues. More than likely, we would be indirectly impacted as the front moves in, where we could get, again, some stronger storms. But there is the real potential for, some really nasty weather in the heart of the U.S. Friday, Saturday with a really, really potent storm system. Hi, Ed. How you doing? Ed says he was near the airport today and felt like he got caught up in a small twister. Very disconcerting. There you go, Ed. And again, now, Ed, were you near MCO or were you near Sanford? Because both had some really strong winds. But if you were near the Sanford airport, that was the one that had the tornado warning, and it would not shock me. We talked about that, guys, live on the stream about how, across I-4, the 417, 46 up there, that there was a lot of wind. So if Ed was near those areas. So let me know, Ed. Appreciate it. Also, Ed, too, I think you live in Winter Garden, don't you? If you do, have you seen that we now have a Winter Garden camera? So I believe Ed from streams in the past, and I remember him very vividly, has mentioned that he lives in the Winter Garden area. So now we have a camera near your home, Ed. How about that? So again, this special weather statement goes for the next 11 minutes. Winds of still 50. Teresa, if you're still there, I think you're okay in Mims. It is just south of you. Blue Goose for your home in Cocoa. It looks like it might just go in between Teresa and Blue Goose's homes. Titusville, Indian River City, Port St. John, Sharp. Still picking up this hail potential, right? I don't want to discount that because, the radar algorithm still says there is the opportunity for a little bit of hail in this area here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So we got to watch out for that. Well, Ed, you don't have to just check it out, pal. I can go live to it right here, right? What we're doing is we're adding new live cameras to CFLW, and this is the newest one. This is out of Winter Garden. We're looking west. Again, Winter Garden, the western sides of Orange County. I just remember Ed saying that he lived in the Winter Garden area. So there you go, Ed. Anytime that you now tune into a live stream, you know that you're going to have a camera near your area. And that's one of the goals that we want to do, is through a variety of ways, is to bring you guys more live cameras across our area to help tell the story. I don't want to get too much into it because plans are still being made, but there's a couple different ways that we might be able to bring that to you guys. And again, your support of the channel allows us to financially invest in this technology. So do appreciate you guys. The channel is always going to be free. You guys know that. Never going to cost you a thing. But getting more viewers certainly helps the channel out, right? Allows us to do more. All right. I'm always going to keep an eye on the spin. Again, I'm not too concerned about that because the wind field is just not too strong there. Kind of where we have this hail signature, everything looks okay as well. Now, the radar is indicating that there's a possibility of hail. That's the probability of severe hail. That is not estimated mean hail size. Every so often this thing likes to yeah. Has downdraft potential. I'm just going through all these different little products I got here. It's a good indication of where we have the biggest juice, because if you get some good downdrafts, and you can kind of clearly see that. So right over the 520 right now, and portions of the beach line as it intersects with all the different ways that you can go. You can go north or south from here, up towards I-95, south towards Cocoa on the 528. Anywhere that you see these oranges, an opportunity for some good strong winds here, right? Good downdraft potential, the air coming down into the storm, producing that. That's your gust potential. Doesn't look like the hail size wants to cooperate right now, but that's okay. Again, you know, here, little void in the radar. Always bears some watching when it's out by itself. But I haven't seen any rotation in this as of now, guys. Again, one more time to the broad perspective. Don't want to stay too far away. Now, you notice again that there are storms well off to our south that are going to try and work their way into the far southeast side of Osceola County. So there's Yeehaw Junction, which is why they were under that one special weather statement, and then into western Indian River, and maybe this clips portions of southern Brevard. Now, I do believe that this heaviest part is going to stay into Indian River County and areas south, all right? More than likely, that's not going to be able to go that far north, but it's a possibility, something to monitor. For Brevard County, this is the heaviest stuff. Now, it's good to see that we haven't had a severe thunderstorm warning issued for this. Special weather statement goes for the next 6 minutes. You know, the Weather Service might incorporate Merritt Island and the Cape into a new special weather statement. Certainly looks like the activity there is just as strong as what we have off towards our south, but you notice that things are already becoming a little bit quieter back into the rest of Orange County and northern Osceola County, Kissimmee, MCO, things like that. So, you know, again, if there was going to be any kind of weather delays to the airport, those have hopefully already gone away. Now, again, winds are still fresh, 30 to 35. We haven't gotten any stronger winds yet in places like Titusville and Port St. John. But again, still have this little hail signature right over Port St. John right now. So you can see that the reflectivity is higher. It's just a good storm regardless of anything, right? Still a good storm. Kind of drifting back down. But this is what I mentioned, guys. As long as we still have this south wind towards the Space Force Station, a southwest wind, temperature of 39. Melbourne has had a 33 mile an hour wind lately. And let me show you guys that so you can actually see it. Their winds are still out of the southwest. This is where we just still have a little bit of juice in the atmosphere. Simple as that. I'm going to loop this up over the last half hour, kind of take a look at the trends together. Again, still could see the redevelopment of some lighter rain. I don't want to say, you know, regardless of where you are, that you're completely dry after this pushes through, but the stronger storms are done once your winds turn out of the west. Still could be breezy, overcast, not going to be a great day. All right, we'll get a little bit of sunshine by the end of the day. Look, there might be a couple of spots that end up with fairly sunny skies to wrap up this Monday, but you know, it's going to take a while, right, to really pull in that drier air. But you can see the trend over the last half hour where, you know, this is the cell that came out of the Kissimmee area, moved through the southeast sides of Orange County, now far eastern Orange into Brevard County. Again, good cluster of heavier rain and storms there. Hopefully, though, no severe weather. When we take a look at the infrared satellite imagery with this, right, you can just see that all that juice is south and east, and temperatures are getting cooler into our northwest areas. When we look at the visible satellite imagery, Again, beautiful presentation. I love it. You can almost see here, again, you know, here's what I realize I have to do. I have to, hang on a second. I guess I just have to deal with it. Do I have to pause it? I'm going to learn on the fly with you guys as well. I'm trying to get this loop to go down to just a couple of hours. Maybe if I pause it and then re-engage it, it'll work. It's not going to, did that work that time? No, it's not going to do it because I have all these presets in. And so unless I go outside of preset mode, it's just going to keep doing that. But what you can clearly see is, you can just see those higher level clouds moving back in. Do you see how they're more thin and wispy out in the eastern Gulf right now? You know, that's what we're rotating around. What happened is, why we got these storms is there was a nice little kick of mid-level energy that developed here in the eastern Gulf and amplified the storms in our area this morning. We had some pretty good storms up in the Panhandle last night as well. The main threat there was heavier rain, but the true area of low pressure with this is actually north of here. Do you see that spin right there over the Atlanta area? That's where the parent low actually is right now, right? And so we are on the warm sector of the storm system. Looks like there's another little low right there sitting off of the Georgia coastline too. But you can see that coming in. And then once we push all of that out, we'll be a lot better. But that's why we had a little bit of an uptick in the storms a little bit earlier in the day. Okay. Special weather statement for one more minute. Still some heavier storms over Port St. John, Indian River City, Titusville, places like that. If you guys are just tuning in, again, this will count as CFLW, the show, as well. Obviously, we are 45 minutes from the time that I would normally come on, so no reason to jump back on. Hopefully you guys have your notifications on, which is what I always try and impart to you guys. Is that because this is a live-only channel, I'm not going to inundate you with notifications for video updates or whatever. When I'm on this channel, I'm on this channel for a reason. So have all notifications on. There are various levels of notifications on YouTube you can have. I don't even suggest this for my other channels. But for this channel, there's really only one tier of notifications that you should have on, and that's all, because when I'm on, you know that there's a reason why. Come in and check it out, stick around, interact, find out it's not for your area, leave right away, or find out that it is for your area, and you know, follow it live for us here on CFLW. So appreciate you guys as far as that goes as well. But that's what I always suggest, because you know, for anyone who might be waiting for the show at 1 o'clock, they're going to realize that I'm not going to be on. And if they had their notifications on, then they would know the reason why, right? But more than anything, it's so that you guys have the information that you need to make informed decisions about what's happening across our area. So that special weather statement has been allowed to expire, right? If they're going to issue another one, they're going to have to issue it right now. Someone should clip every single time that I'm about ready to say something, and then the next thing you know, the Weather Service does it, right? You know, looking at various areas going, that's where I'm more concerned about. So like, boom, they issue a severe thunderstorm warning, a tornado warning. What I was about ready to say is, because this cell is close to pushing offshore, if the Weather Service is going to issue a special weather statement, they're going to have to do it now. Otherwise, you know, the bulk of the storm is offshore. Now they go for a half hour. I'm not sure that this cell actually sticks around for a half hour in these areas, but you get the idea. Titusville, Indian River City, Port St. John's, Sharps, Merritt Island, Cape, all under this new special weather statement. This is the summary of that right now. Port St. John, LaGrange, Titusville Airport, Bellwood, Canaveral Groves, moving east at 30 with maximum winds of 50 miles an hour. That is the summary. This is the actual advisory right now. Strong thunderstorm impact Brevard County and east central Orange County. I mean, we're getting into Brevard County here until 12:45. Strong thunderstorm over Titusville Airport moving east at 30, wind gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. And again, the areas that I have already mentioned as well. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are here and you just jumped on, thank you so much for hitting that like button. Again, it helps to support the channel. Maybe you found this channel because it showed up on your homepage and you didn't even know we exist. And that is our community liking and subscribing and commenting to bump this channel up in the YouTube algorithm to let more and more people know that we exist. Again, we are a live only channel here. When weather impacts Central Florida, I'm going to be on to cover it. Now, I do have two, excuse me here, I've got my mic cord was getting all bunched up. We do have 2 live shows that I do regardless of the weather, Monday and Friday at 1 o'clock. And that's just so we can keep in constant contact, right? So I can get you guys prepared for the next opportunity for some stronger storms, severe storms, next impactful weather. We talk about the forecast. I've got, I do city by city forecasts as well. So, a lot of what we're going to do is to kind of cover the next event. So this cell, which is the worst part of it, is moving right over the river as we speak, just east of Port St. John and Indian River City. There's no population center within this, and it is expected to move offshore in the next 24 minutes. And the good news is you get north of the Cape towards the coastline. It's all government-owned land anyway. There's very little out there. The population centers are going to be Merritt Island and east, as we mentioned, Titusville and Indian River City, Port St. John, places like that. Again, scattered light rain will kind of try and redevelop, but besides that, we're looking pretty good. Now, this is an interesting one here, right? We do have a special weather statement south of Indian River County, which does sneak into southeast Osceola and the extreme southwest sides of Brevard County. I believe that this cell moves more through Indian River County and probably never makes its way into Brevard. And even if it does, the air on the northern side of this is going to be clustered. And this is what I was talking about too, is like, do these cells get close enough to each other where they kind of, negate each other and the opportunity for some instability? The answer was no with that. And you can clearly see that the winds here are still ripping, still out of the south. Last update, we just got one here out of the Space Force Station, 30-mile-an-hour wind out of the south. The Cape, that is a new report as well as of 12:04, 33-mile-an-hour wind, again, still out of the south. Port St. John's winds are quartering out of the southwest. Up towards Titusville, their winds are now due west. That's it. I think I've mentioned it a bazillion times. South to southwest winds, you still have an opportunity for some potent weather in your area. Once the winds turn out of the west, the atmosphere is going to be more stabilized. Could still see some heavier rain, but you're not going to get the stronger part of the storms. All right, friends, I'm going to take a real quick break. I'll be back in just 1 second. Take a look at that winter garden camera. I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, friends, back. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. What are we here? About 12:20. About 3 hours and 20 plus minutes of coverage here. CFLW on this Monday. Now we are into the lunchtime hour. It does not seem like it's 12:20. Look, I know we just went through daylight saving time, but my goodness. And by the way, let me ask you this question. How do you feel about DST? If you had a preference, would you, one, continue to do our flipping every 6 months, daylight saving time from here until November, and then switch back to standard time? Or would you rather stay on standard time, or would you rather stay on daylight saving time? Let me know in the comments section below. I am very curious about that because I think that for the first time ever since daylight saving time was initiated, there's some real discussion about maybe sticking to one time, right? It's a federal law. It has to be approved at the federal level. Obviously, when it was initiated, there was some pushback from certain areas, like Arizona doesn't observe daylight saving time. There's, portions of Illinois that there's really funky areas, right? But obviously you'd want to standardize it across the country, one, but two, what would you rather do? I'll give you my opinion in a minute, but would you rather stay here on daylight saving time? Would you rather stay on standard time? Or would you want to flip back and forth like we've done for forever, at least during our lifetimes, right? So again, winds are kind of out of the west in Titusville, still out of the south here at the Cape. So this is the cluster of storms still producing this special weather statement. I'm going to go back over to the velocity. I just always want to make sure you notice that how these winds are stronger here. These fuchsias, again, when these cells get offshore, they can really produce some extremely strong winds, right? That is some really, really bad weather just offshore of Brevard County. Hopefully boaters have been staying safe because that wind has really picked up now. You're getting that smoother, relatively speaking, friction-wise, offshore, off the coastline. It gets bad in a hurry. So you can still see that this line, there's still a little bit of juice in the atmosphere here, right? Just a little bit. So does this part want to try and pick back up a little bit as well? It's a possibility. Have to monitor that trend as well. But for right now, northern Brevard County, it's going crazy in Merritt Island right now. Very, very heavy rain. Port St. John, Sharps, Indian River City as well, and the Cape. Again, still have this special weather statement off towards the south. You live in Metro Orlando for the lunchtime hour. It's very breezy conditions. It's still overcast skies. Could be a little bit in the way of lightening of the sky, just a bit, right? Just trying to get that sunlight to come through as the air begins to dry out a little bit. But, look, generally speaking, these are still really, really thick clouds that are over the area. And again, some brief moving showers as well. What's the link, Fiona? I'm not clicking on anything until I know what it is. You're going to be like, hey, it's your other YouTube channel. If you would like to find the other YouTube channels that I do, they are in the description of the video below. You could find those, Media Mundo, Weather Express. You can find our social media platforms here as well. All right, well, I'll give you my opinion of daylight saving time. I am a proponent of staying with daylight saving time. I think my order would be stick with daylight saving time, go back and forth every 6 months like we do, stay on standard time. I would not want to stay on standard time. It gets too dark too early. My wife is miserable in the winter months because of it. I'm not a big fan of it either, obviously. So I would rather stay on daylight saving time because we just get that longer, daylight time later in the day. The back and forth stuff is getting kind of old, in my opinion. It's tough, right? Like, okay. Well, if you guys want to check out that link that Fiona sent, you guys can. I personally would rather stick on standard time. Or, I'm sorry, daylight saving time. I want nothing to do with standard time. That can go away. That's fine. If we never go back to it, I'm okay with it. But the switching around was horrible. Like, we turned around yesterday and it was like 7:45. We're like, yeah, we haven't really eaten dinner yet. Kids are wrapping up playing outside. I'm like, we got to get them fed and ready for bed for school. It's always a push. It's always a rush at first day. So again, friends, right now, appreciate you tuning in to CFLW. We do have a special weather statement for Brevard County. Now, again, the majority of the area, it was allowed to have most of the active weather expire at this point in time. Not going to expect us to see any storms to really redevelop I-4 West. There will still be some wind-driven sprinkles and some rain across the area, but nothing that's going to be outrageously significant. Now, it's still not going to be a great afternoon across most of the area here, but it is our eastern and southern areas that could still see at least the opportunity for some stronger weather here in the short term. Now, this will also be winding down soon as well. We do have the one special weather statement. Again, that's just under a severe thunderstorm criteria, and that's for portions of mainly Brevard County. I mean, it does encompass the far eastern sides of Orange, but it's really moving out of there, and you're looking at Indian River City, Port St. John, Merritt Island, portions of Cape Canaveral for the next 15 minutes. You can clearly see that a lot of the bulk of that cell is now offshore, and there's a lot of wind in the nearshore waters of Brevard County. The storms are trying to kind of develop south and west of here. It's picked up a little bit. If I show you kind of that here in just the last half hour, this is the loop from the Melbourne radar in the last half hour. This little part has gotten just a little bit stronger in the last half hour. Nothing outrageous, but again, just a little bit of an uptick trend, that certainly bears a little bit of watching. And then down south, we have this special weather statement. But again, I think that stays in Indian River County. I don't really expect that to really push into southern Brevard. If it does, it's on the northern side of that. That's the more stable atmosphere with that particular cell. Wouldn't really expect there to be any real opportunity for severe weather to go along with that. So the biggest thing would be, what happens with this as over the next 10 minutes or so as it moves offshore, and then what happens with this part of the cell if it were to try and fill in just a little bit. I don't know why you're looking at anyone else, Fiona. I don't know. I mean, well, Blue Goose, I think you're going to get hit a little bit. I mean, I think this line fills in a little bit. It's not extremely intense, though. I mean, Coco is right on the southern edge of that special weather statement. Let me bring back up the current wind gusts, see if anything has picked up since when we last looked. Looks all about the same. 25 to 30 with some higher gusts. Melbourne has a 33-mile-an-hour wind as of last check. I think that's it. I mean, that's fine. You're going to get by. Could take down a tree limb or two, but this is of not a big concern right now. And even for this special weather statement, I know it goes on for the next, and let me just go back out here to this broad view. It should bring back on the time. All right, hang on. I got to do this real quick. Whenever I loop up the map, I have to kind of reset the view to get the time of arrival to come back on so that we're actually live. Even though it goes on for the next 14 minutes, quite honestly, the most impactful part of that cell is going to move offshore in the next 4 or 5 minutes. As a matter of fact, again, my computer system is so dang good. Right where I pointed where the most active weather is, you can see it. So, I mean, these are the actual launch complexes of the Cape. You can see the spoke wheels right, of where the actual launch complexes are. So it's going right over those as we speak, and it's going to be out of the area in the next 10 minutes. So the most impactful weather is out and offshore in the next 10 minutes, all right? We'll be left over with some rain, but again, the winds will start to turn more out of the west. So southwest wind at lunchtime, I bet you Port St. John already has a due west wind. We already have a due west wind there at the tower, there north of the Cape, okay? So, you know, again, weather improving, things are becoming more stable. You go farther south, you still have a possibility to see if these storms can get a little squirrelier. Hopefully not, right? Now this would, you know, whatever this is going to end up becoming is going to be moving through the rest of Brevard County, right? So places south of where we've been talking about recently would be the areas that would be most impacted by that. So Cocoa and Rockledge, the southern sides of Merritt Island, Vieira, Suntree, Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, O'Galley, Melbourne, June Park, Palm Bay, all of those areas could be impacted by that cluster that's trying to ramp up a little bit right now. Again, nothing outrageous, but just trying to ramp up a little bit. Oh, it's a secret, Blue Goose. Here's what I will say. Hundreds of hours of customization. It's taken a lot, and still working on it almost on a daily basis. It's taken a lot to be able to adjust things on the fly, including working with the developer of the system. Trade secrets, as they say. But it's not just the system that we use too, it's how we are able to integrate everything. No, not a secret PC. Not a secret PC. You know, I will say the PC that I'm using is just a laptop. And it's nothing special. It's just the software that we use, but also how we integrate everything as well. You know, the ability to change on the fly in a very quick way was important. I mean, you know, we've invested a lot of money into this channel, and we're still not at a threshold where we're earning any money from YouTube. So if I'm being quite honest with you guys, every single time that I've been on this channel since the beginning last year has been for free. And that's fine because it's a new channel, but we need to continue to grow. And that's kind of why I implore you guys to like this. Even if a YouTube ad is running right now, as you guys are watching this, and sometimes it might, sometimes it's not, we're not earning any revenue from that because we haven't hit the subscriber threshold or the hours watch threshold to begin to monetize the channel. So any support that I've gotten from you guys has been through the Venmo and the PayPal links and stuff like that. But again, it's all expected because this is a newer channel, but that's why we need this trend to continue to grow, because we have made significant financial resource investments into this channel to present you guys with this, right? And we hope that in the coming years, you know, we just grow more and more and more. And of course, we have our other channels as well, and they're all kind of under the same umbrella. But, you know, we need your support. So thank you for, again, liking and subscribing. If you want to continue to see this, obviously at some point in time, you know, we need that to happen. We have a fantastic sponsor, and Bobby Lean and the team at Lean on Me Law, you know, I spoke with him, and again, you know, Bobby was a viewer of our Hurricane Milton coverage last year, and he saw that on that bug that it said a sponsorship was available, and he got a hold of us, and he says, Rusty, I believe in what you guys are doing. I believe it's the future. How can I be a part of it? And so we're really happy to bring them on as the exclusive sponsor of CFLW for the first half of 2025, right? And, you know, they cover homeowners when it comes to active weather like this. And so it's a great partnership because, you know, if you guys are impacted by these storms in a way where you need to go through an insurance claim process, they can help you guys out. So if that situation ever arises in your life and you want to support someone who supports Central Florida Weather Live, we appreciate considering going to leanonmelaw.com to get the newest information from them. So we appreciate all that as well. All right, so this special weather statement is going to wrap up here in the next couple of minutes. Now, still some heavier rain over these areas, but again, I'm not expecting this to be reissued in any way. This cluster that's outside of the special weather statement is kind of the next thing, but that being said, it still looks relatively ragged and weak. You know, I've been kind of sitting here over the last few minutes just kind of looking at this going, all right, you know, is there going to be an uptick, a trend upwards like we saw with the areas to the north? When we look at the velocity, it's a lot more muddied here. There's not nearly as strong of a wind field as well. And part of that could really be, again, what's happening to our south. And I mentioned that, right? So if we take a look at this, and just so you guys can kind of get an idea of how I, as a meteorologist, am looking at things, you've got this cluster of storms. It's out by itself, right? But where is the energy coming from? Well, the energy is coming from the winds out of the south to southwest. So the air at the surface is flowing in like this, right? Well, you notice that you've got all of these storms south. This is kind of cutting off the best juice in the atmosphere into Brevard County, right? And so it might be a hindrance for this cluster of showers to get strong enough to produce a special weather statement or a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, it's plausible indeed, but as far as what it could end up being, more than likely, this cluster of storms is raking the atmosphere north of where it's being developed, and the air is more stable in Brevard County than if this didn't exist, okay? When these storms line up like this, you kind of got to look at them like a domino effect, right? So I can't move this without clearing the telestrations. If I clear this, you're going to notice that there's nothing south of this line, and it's why this part of the cells are getting stronger, because unabated warm moisture-laden air is coming into the south side of this. So that's why we have the special weather statements here. But you get north, right? And we've raked the atmosphere with these storms, and now the air is a little bit more stable. So more than likely, again, we can always see an uptick. Squirrely things happen, but more than likely the air is a little bit more stable in Brevard County thanks to the storms to the south. Oh, you guys can make some bingo cards, man. Get ready for hurricane season. Yeah, I've been talking about rowdy storms on television for a long, long time. Kind of got to come up with your own signature phrases, you know? Want to stand out. So this special weather statement is in effect for the next 5 minutes. There's nothing in that box right now that concerns me. It's all offshore. They could allow it to expire early. They could just let it go for the next 5 minutes. I'm not too concerned. Really, this is about it, right? Does this try and pick up a little bit of intensity? But from what I just showed you guys, I think that opportunity is lower than what we otherwise would see if these storms didn't exist off to the south. Elsewhere, again, we've had a little bit of light rain kind of redevelop with some of the gustier winds, which will continue to be a story here over the next little bit. Again, this is going to be CFLW the show as well. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we are about 99% positive that we're basically done with any really active weather here in Central Florida. So that's good. All right. So for those of you who are just tuning in, and maybe, you know, you would be tuning in the next 20 minutes for CFLW the show, let's kind of go over a little bit about what I would be talking about here. So for the remainder of the day, I'm going to go back over to our enhanced satellite imagery here. Again, storms working off towards the east. There is going to be a little bit cooler air. that'll be moving in. Now, cloud coverage is going to stick around pretty stubbornly the remainder of the day, but temperatures here in Georgia and the Panhandle and South Alabama, 40s and 50s. It'll be a little bit of a cooler start the next couple of mornings, but nothing outrageous, right? We're not going to have a big push of colder air coming in. Now we're getting deeper into March, so now these cold fronts can still have a bite to them, but they're beginning to kind of wane a little bit as far as that goes. Now, the interesting thing is, if I go over to the visible satellite imagery here again, you're going to see that there's a bit of a spin right over Atlanta. That's kind of where the more parent area of low pressure is. We had some mid-level juice out of the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico to help kick up this activity. Once this clears the area, we are in store for a little bit more tranquil weather overall. Now, today, it really is our area that had the risk for a few stronger to severe storms, right? The Storm Prediction Center has actually pushed that farther south as the front has come through. Could see some marginal risk for severe storms along portions of the Georgia and the Carolina coastline. Tomorrow, weather is going to be quite clear. Wednesday, we'll start to see the opportunity for a few stronger storms, severe storms develop in Arklatex, okay? That's kind of the beginnings of what could be the next severe weather outbreak. And this one has even more juice. Now, those storms are localized on Wednesday, kind of quieter on Thursday, but on Friday, as this huge amplified trough digs down into the United States and warm moisture-laden air gets pumped in from the Gulf, high amplitude system that we call it, this is a classic spring severe weather outbreak example, criteria, whatever you want to say. This one has all the ingredients to have widespread, significant, severe weather. As a matter of fact, you get this red ring when you're talking about 5 days out from the Storm Prediction Center, and you know that they're already concerned about what could be happening all the way from portions of the upper Midwest through Arklatex, western sides of the Tennessee Valley. All right, this is on Friday. All right, Saturday, it pushes a little bit farther south and east to include kind of, again, more of the southeast, portion of the Tennessee Valley, a lot of Alabama, a lot of Mississippi, right? And then on Sunday, at least right now, it goes away. So at this point in time, I'm expecting there to not be direct impacts from this next severe weather outbreak, which, by the way, as bad as the last one was, this one potentially could be even worse. All right. This is the GFS model. Again, over the next week, if you guys are just tuning in, I've shown you this once, but we'll go over it one more time. And again, I will see you guys on Friday at 1 o'clock for CFLW The Show. At this point in time, I do expect the weather between now and then to be quiet enough where hopefully I don't see you guys in an interim basis, but obviously if I need to, you'll know I'll do that. Now, we'll see how well the GFS handles this, and as we get closer into time, we'll look at the more high-resolution models. But you can clearly see here, and again, let me get you guys to the right timestamp, the model timeline. You guys don't want to see the current time, do you? If you guys look at the top of your screen, this is going to be Saturday. You can really see that begin to kind of pump up over the Tennessee Valley and portions of the southeast. Now, the best juice is going to be riding north and east with that, right? So at this point in time, I would expect us to then on Sunday get scraped by the cold front that comes in associated with it. And again, at this point in time, right now at least, not expecting direct impacts from that cell. But that'll be the next one to watch out for, especially for portions of the mid part of the country. Okay, this is what's been happening over the last couple of hours. Again, tornado confirmed in Lake Mary. Tornado confirmed in Lake Mary. Radar indicated in Sanford. That was a cell that moved all the way through Sumter County and actually produced tornado warnings all the way to the Volusia County coast. That was earlier in the day. That's what it looks like outside right now. This is what it looks like here. That special weather statement was allowed to expire. This, to me, looks no better than what it was, and you notice that the cells to the south are getting stronger. Now you have your severe thunderstorm warnings for these areas. Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, places like that. Again, North of there, I think the atmosphere is much more stabilized because of these storms. So at this point in time, I'm not anticipating this cluster to get any worse. All right, and that's kind of how I think it's going to play out over the next couple of hours. Friends, does anyone have any questions for me? We've been on now for about 3 hours and 45 minutes, and I do appreciate you guys tuning in and your support. So, if you have a question about the forecast, speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least until Friday at 1 o'clock. I'll give you guys 1 second. Again, while you're here, thank you so much for liking this live stream. Again, it's more important than you guys know. Thank you for subscribing to CFLW. If you would like to support me even more, find the other 2 channels that I do, Media Mundo and the new channel, Weather Express, where I do cover weather across the United States. As a brand new channel, beginning to gain some momentum there as well. Thank you for subscribing to those channels as well. And again, I appreciate the support in other ways as well. We'll do one more look at the cameras before I get out of here as well. We got them, why not, right? Oh, we're still in dry season, Fiona. This is how we get wet weather this time of the year. You got to get these active cold fronts coming in. Now, dry season and wet season are defined by our localized sea breeze storms, okay? We won't really get into wet season again until probably, on average, it's late May, give or take a week or 2. You don't want to get too deep into June and not have the wet season return, because then the fire threat really goes up. But the definition for the Peninsula of Florida wet season, dry season is the localized development of the sea breeze storms in our afternoon hours. This was a massive cold front that came in through the central and the eastern side of the United States. If we're going to get rain and storms this time of the year, it has to be because of these cold fronts, right? Now, as we get deeper into, again, meteorological spring, by the way, began on March 1st. I know we haven't calendar flipped to spring yet, but weather-wise, we are now into the spring season. The deeper into the spring season that we go, these cold fronts begin to wash out farther and farther north, and we actually get into another lull, another dry period in portions of April and May if these fronts can't work their way all the way through, and then we cross our fingers and we wait for the wet season to return in a localized fashion, because again, if we get a dry stretch of weather, then you really start to see the opportunity for the fire threat to go up. And I've mentioned this before as well, but this is the drought monitor. Okay, and you can see that a lot of our area is either under these browns, which is abnormally dry, or yellows or oranges, which is categories of drought. Unfortunately, the winter season was drier than normal already, so we're already a little bit into a deficit. So we need these fronts to come in to give us this rain. The rain was extremely beneficial to our area. We just didn't want the severe weather that came with it today, but that happens a lot in these cool season fronts that come in here, that bring us the rounds of showers and storms. But we have been dry, relatively speaking, the last couple of months in Central Florida, so we could use the rain, because we don't want to get into April and be in a drought. It's not a good situation for us here. So Blue Goose, the Fox 35 television station is actually located on I-4 in Lake Mary. They are actually in Lake Mary. So not shocking that they had some of that most impactful weather. Yep. I mean, that was the area. If you guys know that the Fox television station in Orlando, their studios are located just on the east side of I-4 in Lake Mary. So not shocking that they got some of the most impactful weather. And by the way, where I live, the rain is picking back up. So it shows you again, what it is. Now this camera is this is the Winter Garden camera. And again, it's raining there as well. So you can see the rain picking up again through portions of Orange County. You can see the darker clouds coming in. Again, still kind of, ominous looking outside. But again, we're not going to see severe weather out of this. This is just going to be some wind-driven rain, as I've already mentioned. Still some low base to some of the clouds, but you can see again that there's even a little bit in the way. There's even a little bit in the way of a little bit of a break in the clouds. And this is what I anticipate. Some fast-moving showers, Overall, though, beginning to break apart some of that cloud coverage. Let's go to the Disney camera. Still relatively overcast here, still a bit of a breeze, but not much. Looking pretty good overall in Lake Buena Vista. And back to Lake Conway. Thicker clouds have rolled back over Lake Conway, southeast of downtown Orlando. But again, a little bit of rain, breezy conditions, 25, 30 mile an hour winds. This is going to be a very common sight through most of our area, at least until mid-afternoon. But a trend will be we'll get more and more sunshine the deeper into the day that we go. All right, one more look at things right now. Again, we're quieting down. That's what we like to see. Fiona, thank you. Yeah, I like Weather Express too. Again, it's a 5-minute forecast. It's a much different channel compared to this channel, compared to Media Mundo, where we do a lot of live coverage, where we do a lot of longer live streams. This was just one that I wanted to do where it's a quick forecast. We cover all the major highlights on a daily basis. But again, a lot of people were asking me, hey, Rusty, are you going to cover, the rest of the country? Well, yes, but a little bit different fashion, but also a unique fashion as well, right? You want to get in, you want to get that forecast, get in and out. That's what that channel provides. So appreciate you guys supporting Weather Express as well. All right, friends, just shy of 4 hours. We're going to wrap this up. Once again, thank you to our sponsor, the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover homeowners, condo owners, and associations across the entire state of Florida. Doesn't matter where you live in Florida, Pensacola to Key West, they can help you out. They cover anything that can impact you or your property. So again, we get storms that roll through, you get hail damage, you get damage from hurricanes, wind damage, you get a burst pipe, you've been in a car accident. They can walk you through the insurance claim process. They do offer free consultation and policy reviews. And we really appreciate them being a supporter here of Central Florida Weather Live. You can go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. And at some point in time, I'm going to say that smoothly, leanonmelaw.com. Regardless, the website is on the bottom of your screen. As we leave, thank you so much for liking this live stream. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Again, no Central Florida Weather Live at 1 o'clock today. This covers it. I think we've done it over the last 4 hours. I will see you guys back at 1 o'clock on Friday, where we will be talking about that severe weather outbreak in the central and the southeastern United States. If there's any changes to how that could impact our forecast over the weekend ahead as well. And of course, we'll take a look at the forecast across Central Florida in your city by city forecast. Appreciate all of those who tuned in for the live stream. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great rest of the week. The weather should be a little bit more tranquil. And I'll see you guys whenever the weather is impactful, but hopefully not until Friday at 1 o'clock. You all take care, and I'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in.